Well, there you all are. Well, hello. My name's Rick Ferrin, and I've got my wife Susan here next to me
Hello.
tonight. And I have to tell you, I want to thank you all for coming in and wanting to spend your 4th of July evening with us here, right here on the six screens, Tell the Network. A lot of things are going on, a lot of things are happening. I mean, I always say that every week, but I don't want to sound like a broken record. But I have to say, I always get excited when I see that things are not working out for the Watchtower. And let me tell you something. You're getting a lot of propaganda. If you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses and you are listening in tonight, the elders, the governing body, they're going to give you all kinds of goody news. They're going to give you a lot of propaganda, so to speak. But don't really listen to it. I'm going to give you what Susan and I can do here tonight. We're going to give you the other side. We're going to be the rebuttal, so to speak. They're going to tell you how great they're doing, and we're going to tell you how bad they're doing,
How they're really doing.
how they're really doing. So, in all means, stay here with us. And I just want to make a couple of comments before we even start. I know that we had Nicole and we had Maverick that are going to be moderators here on our chat on YouTube. So, Nicole and Maverick, I said this week I'd be in touch with you, but I had to go through a few little tricks and gimmicks here with YouTube. So, we will get you on next week as moderators in the chat room. So, all I need is your email. And I believe I do have both of your email. I've got Mavericks and I do have Nicole's. So you'll be getting a link. Now I'm going to send a link to you that you will be a moderator on the Six Screens YouTube chat room. So just answer that link. They'll ask you a few questions and answer that link. And then next week we'll be all ready to have you guys as moderators. So I wanted to mention that. So also, yes, Nicole, thank you. You'll get that link. I thought it was a little easier than that, but I have to send you a link to your email so you'll see it this week. Okay, thank you, Nicole. Okay, so happy 4th of July.
Yes.
So I'm not going to ask you what you did today. I'm sure you had fun. Well, Susan and I did. We had some hot dogs, and I'll tell you what, a good hot dog is good. You like hot dogs? In America, in America, maybe a lot of people, I knew many people that won't eat a hot dog, but a hot dog, that's the American food. I mean, you got to have a hot dog on the 4th of July. It's kind of a tradition. But the Watchtower, and when I stop and think about it, how lousy it is being one of Jehovah's Witnesses on the 4th of July. Everybody else is celebrating, going to parades, fireworks. Everyone's excited. Even today, I couldn't believe it. People were excited. They're driving around with flags on their car, they're beeping horns. It's an exciting day. You turn on the news and the fireworks and airplanes flying over and everything you could possibly think of. And yet the Jehovah's Witnesses, they can't even, never mind celebrate it, they can't even really look at it without it bothering their conscience. So I wanted to bring that up tonight. And, one of the reasons why Jehovah's Witnesses, in fact, the major reason why they don't celebrate 4th of July, and I think everybody out there listening in, well, they know the answer to that. And they don't celebrate 4th of July because they avoid all nationalistic holidays and patriotic fever or fervor. Okay? Well, why?
No flag salutes, no singing of songs, no anthems, no pledges. These are all considered acts of worship, and that's what the problem is for them.
Yeah, well, I got thinking, Susan, when someone even pledge allegiance to the flag, or someone even goes to a firework display, or even doesn't even stands and puts their hand over their heart for the national anthem. I don't really take it that as worshiping, a nation.
You know, not just to always bring up the Bible tonight, but God created us as nations, and then if you read it carefully, we eventually will be returned to nations, more than one. So, what's the big deal?
Well, there's really no big deal, but in the eyes of the Watchtower, there is. And of course, they say, well, by really showing nationalistic tendencies toward the government, you're pushing God's kingdom aside for a nation or for a national government. Well, that's all BS, really. That's not the case. But I got thinking a lot about this, and I can remember really years ago there was a man that I knew. He's a Jehovah's Witness, and him and his son, the mother didn't want to participate, but the son and the father, who were Jehovah's Witnesses, went to a Fourth of July parade, I should say. And let me say that what was it? It was really getting around that, this brother went to a 4th of July parade. What are we going to do with him? I mean, really? Because you want to go to a 4th of July parade? And, even some witnesses come down on people for going and watching a fireworks display. How ridiculous is that? But see, the Jehovah's Witnesses, anything to do with the flag, anything to do with nationalism, they look at it as political, and they avoid all holidays that are tied to independence or to political government. See, because they only believe in one thing, that God's government can solve all the world's problems, not men. So, but I was wondering, and I asked Susan if she would look this up for me and kind of be able to share with us. Is it possible? I mean, what type of reproof? What type of a reproof, if you decided to kind of a little bit celebrate the 4th of July as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, what type of repercussions would you get? Susan, can you tell me? Could you actually? Would you be reproved? Would you be disfellowshipped?
Yes.
What? Tell the audience.
Yeah,
What?
you could be actually, and it's almost like global suicide for you to do that. Let me see if I can, with my glasses, read here. It can lead to formal reproof, but if it's more than that, then it's disciplinary action because it's considered worldly and it breaks religious neutrality. And if it goes beyond a certain point, it's a serious offense. Now, as they were talking in the previous program, there's regionalism as far as the elders are concerned. So it might depend on the area where you live, how severely you would be treated. But it could happen. Even the World Cup, if you went too far regarding the World Cup with the flag and so forth, they might do something. You might have a little meeting in the back room.
Well, really, you would, but you really could, according to what Susan found here, and even some information I found online, you could be reproved. You would definitely be reproved if you celebrated the 4th of July. You would definitely be reproved. But it could also, if you're in a strict congregation, it could actually lead to you being disfellowshipped, or as they would call it today, removed. I mean, how sick is that? I mean, really, when you stop
I'm
and
reporting in with brazen conduct. I'm reporting in with brazen conduct to the Farron family, wishing everyone the most wonderful 250th 4th of July possible. I have a bouffant hairdo. I have a tri-cornered hat. There's fireworks sounds in the background. I'm reporting from Virginia to you up there in Boston. We knew what it took, and we know that the First Amendment makes it so we can believe whatever we want. So I'm wishing everybody a wonderful 4th of July.
well, thank you, Pixie. Now you're right. You're absolutely right. You have freedom now, but it's really, if the Jehovah's Witness organization. This is something that I never could understand. If the Jehovah's Witness organization is just trying to get as much benefits from the government as it can, especially in other nations where they get charitable money given to them. If they're trying to really make peace with the nations, if they're really trying to make it possible so that the nations can look at Jehovah's Witnesses as being a fantastic organization, which by the way, the nations don't look at them as of late as being a fantastic operation, but they could be. But to just totally snub 4th of July is really, it's really snubbing your heritage. If you're an American person, born in America, living here all your life, well, is it sad to say you're proud? Did you ever hear a Jehovah's Witness say they were proud to be an American? I never did. Did you, Susan?
Well, what's interesting is when you have a family and your child does well in school, is it wrong to be proud of your child because of what they have done? They've worked hard, they've studied hard, they're making their family proud because they did well in school. Is it wrong to be grateful to the child, or for the child to be thankful to the parents for helping them get where they are? No. So the government is like a family. And the Bible even talks about the government is like a family. So there's nothing wrong with giving honor to someone or something. In fact, it says we could give honor to the king. And it didn't matter if it was the king of Babylon or the king of anywhere else. You could give honor to those people.
Well, there you go. I mean, the Bible, the witnesses are supposed to be Christians. They're supposed to be the most intelligent people on the planet for understanding the Bible. But there's so many things that the Bible actually allows that the Jehovah's Witnesses don't. And we're going to get into some more of that tonight. But anyways, happy 4th of July. And it's nice. I hear, in fact, in our little studio here, I can hear the fireworks going off in the background. And you're probably hearing them too. Friends, this is the 250th birthday of the United States. And I kind of think about independence. It's Independence Day, really, when you think about it. And it's kind of like an Independence Day for us, too, when we leave the Watchtower, right? We have freedom. I mean, can we celebrate that? Would the Watchtower be upset?
In fact, the Watchtower wouldn't even be in existence if it wasn't for the type of democracy that we have in our country.
Oh, you're right, Susan. That's right. I mean, the headquarters of the Watchtower is right here. And because of the freedom of religion, the very first amendment to the United States Constitution, because of the freedom of religion, where did the Watchtower place their organization? Right here, because they know they can get away with it under that guise. Hey, you're on with us. You want to make a comment? Go ahead. Speak up.
Yep. Hey, Rick and Sue.
Yes. Good. Thank you, Dick.
Good to see Sue. Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. One, that in C.T. Russell's time at Bethel, they had a big bust of Abraham Lincoln with two United States flags side by side. So they were saluting the flag in Russell's time. It's only when Rutherford came around and wanted to change everything. And then, Rutherford being the super hypocrite that he was, he certainly was writing letters to Adolf Hitler and saying that he agreed with the way that Hitler was treating the Jews. Is all I'm saying about Rutherford is he was a horrible person, a hypocrite and a liar, and that's the person that changed it for the Jehovah's Witnesses, that they can't salute the flag. You blame that on Rutherford. In C.T. Russell's time, they celebrated the flag, and they went in the military in C.T. Russell's time. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Dick. So, do you know about that, Susan?
What?
About C.T. Russell?
No.
With flags and flame? No, in fact, the more we learn, the more we see, the more that we dig, the deeper dive we take, as we would think, well, we're going to find out more about this terrible organization. Okay, someone else want to come on? You're on with us right now. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
This is Julie. I know I'm not supposed to be on yet, but I was just thinking. Pixie made the comment, but if you think about it, if you do the July the 4th, you're really breaking two Watchtower things. because you're breaking the holiday, right? Because you're not supposed to be doing a holiday, but it's also the United States birthday. Also, you're not supposed to be celebrating that. So anyway, that's two of them.
All right, Chewy. Well, that's good. Well, listen, you're coming on. You're going to be coming on in about another half hour or so. So you stay right there, and we'll be listening to you. I want to hear all. That's Chewy. He's an ex-Bethelite. He'll be coming on tonight. He's going to share his story of being in Bethel. All right. Well, thank you, Chewy. Well, I want to tell you, I got to focus on this because it's a big thing going on right now. If you were looking at the Jehovah's Witness world from my perspective or from a news perspective, you would say, what's the biggest thing that's going on right now in the Watchtower? Well, I have to tell you, I'm going to call it the demographic time bomb. Yep, the demographic time bomb. Now, what do I mean by that? The Watchtower organization does not have enough qualified men to be ministerial servants and to be elders. In many congregations, they're actually using the sisters. But lately, I'm saying within the last couple of weeks, the last month, and we've been talking about it here on the 6 screens, what we got going on right now is a concerted effort by the circuit overseers and, of course, by the Watchtower organization to do everything they can to get young people, young men, that is, involved in assignments. Now, I've got some information that was leaked, and I have it here tonight. Now, I want to share this with you. It's a brother where the information's coming from that actually went to a circuit overseers. Well, the circuit overseer met with them, and he took some notes on what the circuit overseer had to say. Now, he did say that they are now targeting kids as young as 8 years old for privileges. You heard it right. 8 years old for privileges.
And the word targeting.
Yeah, the word targeting was used. Now, since he said that, and I'll give you more information. I'll give you some more information on this meeting. But since the circuit overseer said that just a few weeks ago in this congregation, the information I have here is all of a sudden they have a 12-year-old in the congregation who was really involving himself in many tasks, sound, and they're taking everybody they possibly can, pass the microphone around, getting all these ones to do whatever they can. As a matter of fact, there's even one in the same congregation, and he's a 20-year-old man. Now, this man, well, actually, he's in his early 20s. Let's go with that. And he never attends the meetings regularly, maybe 2 or 3 times in 3 months. Well, guess what? They just appointed him to a very responsible position in the congregation. They're now grooming him to be a ministerial servant. Now, would they even look at people like that years ago? There's people listening to this. There's people listening to this broadcast tonight that, when you were a young man, when things were really looking good in the Watchtower, let's say in the 80s and 90s, and even the early 2000s, you really were a young man. You wanted to reach out. You were begging at times the elders, look at me, look what I can do. I can run a sound system. I can handle a microphone. I know the Bible. I'm out in service all the time. You would be begging the elders and even the circuit overseer when he came around that you could have a position. Well, that was years ago. And many times they would say to you, no, you're not ready yet, sonny. Brother, they would call you. You're not ready yet. But, keep moving in that direction. Don't you agree with that, Susan?
Yeah, it's true because before they used to judge you on your field service time. Well, they can't do that anymore because you don't count time. So what can they judge you on? Nothing really. So they just have to kind of push you along.
Well, you're right there, Susan. And so what they're doing now, back then, yeah, you had to meet requirements. You had to jump through a lot of hoops. You had to be, an on-the-ball brother, so to speak. Today, that's not the way it is. there is an entire focus of recruiting and grooming the younger generation, and they're they're having these young brothers come forth even before they hit puberty. Now listen to this. Now listen to this little story I'm going to tell you, because you're going to find it fascinating. I want you to think about an 8-year-old child, and that is what the circuit overseer is. That's what the organization now is suggesting. Go back and even grab an 8-year-old child, a young boy, and let's put this little 8-year-old child to to the test, so to speak. Let's see if we can make him a ministerial servant. Not at 8, but they're going to start grooming them or getting them ready to take on organizational responsibilities. Now, you know that, and I just mentioned it, and I'll mention it again. It was tough at one time. Many young brothers try so hard to just be a ministerial servant. No, you're not ready. And never mind an elder, but they know you had to be a ministerial servant first. So this circuit overseer, on the information that's been leaked out here, he actually is going into detail, and he's telling the brothers, the elders in this particular congregation, that you're going to start looking at these young boys at 8 years old, like we say. Now, there's one comment that I have to bring up here, and it comes into play with all of these young brothers supposedly taking assignments. On the same news article that I read, there was some information about a 10-year-old brother that was being used in the congregation. And when he was appointed to handle the microphones, now he's 10 years old. Now, I can remember in my congregation, I never saw a 10-year-old, not even a 12-year-old. I'd see maybe a 14 or 15-year-old brother, but boy, they're stooping down pretty low here. But this poor little kid, he's a 10-year-old little Jehovah's Witness boy. And so his parents were ecstatic. I mean, they were jumping up and down for joy. Oh, our little son here, he's gonna pass the mics in the congregation. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, they're going around, they're boasting about it, they're happy about it. Now, this little poor kid, let's face it, you're gonna go to a meeting. He's 10 years old, he's still in elementary school, so he's gonna go to the meeting. Some of these meetings, most of them went till about 9:30 at night. I mean, this is past a 10-year-old's bedtime. Then think about it. The midweek meeting, I had my kids when they were 10 years old, and I was a Jehovah's Witness man. I had my kids in bed at 8 o'clock. I really wanted them at 7:30, but I figured, well, cut some slack, give them 8. So here we have a little brother passing a microphone at 10 years old. He should be in bed. What do you think?
Well, usually they're in school by 8 o'clock the next morning. And that's not, they come home, they do their homework, they eat dinner, they run to the meeting. Now they're supposed to be part of the meeting also. That's like extra homework for them.
Well, this is because they can't get the brothers, Susan. So let me tell you about this little 10-year-old kid, because it really resonated in my way of thinking, how cruel it was. So the little kid, a little sleepy at night here, obviously he's past his bedtime. So he's passing the microphone around in this particular congregation, and he kind of fell asleep while he was doing it. You don't think that could happen? Of course it could. Actually, a grown man could fall asleep, but and then many times I think they did. But here's a young little 10-year-old kid, and he's passing the microphone around. So he kind of falls asleep, and the microphone bangs the sister's face. Oh my goodness, she goes to the moon here. She's so upset. So after the meeting, she gets a little 10-year-old brother aside, and she starts scolding him. You hit my face, and you better be more careful. And whatever she said, I don't know, but it's probably something like that, right? So now you got the parents. Oh, they come over, and here's the sister scolding their little boy. Well, you think the parents would side in with their son. Well, they don't. They side in with the sister, and they start scolding their little sleepy, past his bedtime brother. And they said that you got to be more careful. You got to make sure you don't do this again. And then of course the elders get involved. Now they didn't bring him back in the back room and have a judicial hearing over it, but even they said you got to be more careful. This is a 10-year-old kid we're talking about. So I mean, is it really?
Hey, Rick?
Yes. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think the danger in that is, from what I remember being a youngster, you're in a hurry to be an adult. So some kids might get the, whatever you want to call it, like they get the adrenaline from being compared to being an adult, and they would take on some of these responsibilities.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're not able to. I mean, handling mics, it seems like a pretty easy job, but it can be, for a young person to do it, it's a lot of responsibility. A 10-year-old, really, I can, yeah.
Rick, when I was in it's like a little thing, but it always stuck in my head. Like, there was probably an 8 or 9-year-old brother, or he was the son of the visiting speaker. And then he was walking his little brother to the bathroom, like escorting him. And he's like holding up his belt, like he's adjusting his belt, and he has his little suit on. He was pretending to be a 30-year-old man when he was 9 years old. And that's like how a lot of witnesses are,
Well, exactly. So, you gotta be, go ahead.
Yeah, he was pantomiming everything he saw, like his dad and other witnesses do,
Absolutely. Well, well, what happened?
Can I say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I started handling Mike, I was about 9, 10 years old, back in the early mid '80s, somewhere in there. I didn't mind doing it because you didn't have to pay attention, especially during the Watchtower study. As soon as the brother gets through reading, he goes to sit back down, to jump up with the mic. Or during the service meeting, a lot of times they didn't have question and answer. So you just sat there and stared in his face. So I didn't mind doing it at assemblies or conventions when they got the young ones to hold up their sign and work in the attendant department. You didn't have to sit with your parents. Matter of fact, I don't know what, maybe some circuits were different, I'm guessing. If they worked in the food service department, some of the other young ones, we got the girls' phone numbers, we played around, we walked to the store, we came back, we played like we were doing something, but in actuality, we didn't do anything. I couldn't even tell you a lot of times what the assemblies or conventions were about. That's what we did. So me personally, I didn't mind doing it because you didn't have to sit with your parents, you didn't have to pay attention with the boring talk, repeating the same thing. Friends, wear clothes, hold on to Jehovah. Just one more year. We're that close. We're on the corner. You didn't have to sit here that. So here we go again. We're on the corner. How many years can we go with this? We're on the corner. We're on the corner. So I didn't mind doing it. It was fun for me.
We had this 8-year-old brother, and his mother was a beautiful widow. And she got married again, and she came by and showed me and my family her beautiful dress coat. She got a blue brand new dress coat that wasn't from a thrift the day she got married at the courthouse. And she needed to get married again to have a husband to help her raise this son, because this son was, like the other brother mentioned, was acting like he was a full brother at the congregation and telling all the sisters what to do. So I couldn't cuss him out at the Kingdom Hall, but one day the two of them were in the supermarket and I cussed him out in the ice cream aisle. And I said, you don't tell Auntie Sister what to do because you're a minor. And it was good that she was able to get married again, but I don't know if she married a witness or not, but she had a nice family after that and adult male to raise him,
Well, that's what can happen, Pixie. A little guy, every male and female too, but mostly male. Every male wants to be the king of the mountain. And they do. I mean, ever since they're little kids, they all want to grow up. They all want to be the king of the mountain. So you got this little kid that all of a sudden is given this latitude in the Kingdom Hall. He's got an assignment. Now it goes to his head, just like it goes to many a younger, well, 20, 30-year-old men as well to become an elder. It goes to the head. Now, here's what you got. And we know this happens. It probably happened in your congregation as well, Pixie, as well as others listening in here. There could be many qualified, hold on one second. There could be many qualified sisters that knew a lot about the scriptures. They knew a lot about Watchtower doctrine. But could they ever, I mean, if they were meeting for a service group and no elders showed up, well, like we know they would put a napkin or something over their head, right?
Yeah.
To show obeisance, to submission or whatever you want to call it to the male. But, I can remember in Florida that the sisters, they were pioneer sisters. Some were in the truth for 30, 40 years. And so they would meet for service. And I would drop my former wife off for service. And there'd be no elder there to take the lead. So I remember one day there was a 14-year-old young boy. I don't think he was even 14. I think it was about 13 or 12. In fact, I think it was 12. And so they had him, he led the group. He said the prayer. And, a little 12-year-old guy, he's not really that equipped to do it. And there were sisters there that could do it. But this is also what's happening. It's ticking a bunch of sisters off. It really is. Just like you said, you told that brother in the ice cream aisle to back off. You don't tell older women what to do when you're a minor. And that's true. So what you have here, this is going to the kids' head. Can you imagine what some of these kids would be like as an elder? Oh my goodness. They would be brutal. But this is what we have, a very twisted organization. These guys will do everything. I'll go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think about, my time being a witness, I was mostly an adolescent or late adolescent. You learn different, and I studied psychology. And one of the main things is like youth lessons. And one of them was you shouldn't be in a hurry to be an adult, because once you're an adult, you have your whole adulthood to do that.
Well, no, that's a very good thought.
So when you're, that's completely normal. A 7 or 8-year-old kid wants to be like his 11-year-old older brother. And they're so in a hurry to grow up and go by what they learn, but they don't appreciate the time when they are that age, because they're only going to be that age once. Once you're an adult, you have 60 years to do that, if you're lucky.
There you go. Susan, what would you have to say about that? Anything?
Well, just that to push kids beyond what they should be pushed. I think that this brother just said is right. They have their whole life to be an adult. Let them be kids. They have a hard enough time paying attention at the meeting. Why make it tougher for them than it is?
Well, you got to. Well, Susan, I'll tell you. We've been doing this for 20 years, and we can never stop really looking at issues in the Watchtower that are disturbing, and then that is one of them. So let's bring Chicago in. Chicago, come in right now.
Hey, Rick, this is Stephen. Sorry for interrupting there a second ago. I find this very disturbing, because exactly what your wife just said. These children are not set up to be doing this kind of thing at 8 years of age. And one of the things that I really think is going to happen now, imagine you give this 8-year-old kid all these privileges. Their whole identity is now wrapped up in who they are in Watchtower. First of all, they're not going to be paying attention in school and really being more career-minded, thinking about what they're going to be doing to take care of themselves. Everything is going to be all about Watchtower. So you're not going to be taking school nearly as seriously as you need to be. But go back to my point about their entire identity being wrapped up being in Watchtower. Now they get to their teenage years. Maybe they're in a ministerial servant, who knows? Maybe they're making them elders at 15, 16, who knows? And just the natural course of events come. You find a girlfriend, you guys become intimate, now you're disfellowship. How many of these kids do you think are going to commit suicide? Because their entire identity is wrapped up in this organization, and everybody on planet Earth that they know now isn't talking to them or thinks bad of them. These are the kinds of things that organizations like Watchtower, because they are a cult, don't think about. If your whole identity is wrapped up in Watchtower and Watchtower gives you the boot for whatever reason, how does that person deal with that reality? Because I tell you firsthand, there was a kid in our hall, they fast-tracked, they made him a ministerial servant. His father wasn't even a ministerial servant. And he went away to college, got a girlfriend, and, they became intimate. They just fellowshipped him, and he was suicidal. And I didn't feel comfortable talking to his father, because to me, his father's a jerk. I felt very comfortable talking to his uncle. And I called his uncle up, and I said, hey, I'm worried about your nephew. He goes, I'm worried about him too. And I've talked to him, and I've talked to his dad, like, hey, keep your head. But this kid was suicidal simply because he was disfellowship. I guarantee you that ratio is going to go up because of taking 8-year-olds and putting them into these positions. And then when you take that away from them, they have nothing else to fall on, and they don't have any way of dealing with that. Thanks, sir.
Well, Stefan, that's a very good comment. Now, I wanted to bring up, as you were talking, and, here the Watchtower is, grooming, if you want to use that word, kind of training these young brothers. Isn't this the same thing Hitler did with the youth camps? Oh, he did this. He took young people, male mostly, and he tried to really inculcate into them Nazism. Really tried to make them little Nazis, and when they were very little, so when they grew up, they could be big Nazi people, SS people, and become really bad. So, the Watchtower, they're following Hitler doing this. This is like Hitler youth camps and anything. And yeah, they know it works. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But the point is, these kids are not going to be able to deal with when you take that away. Either just as a punishment, or they got involved with some girl or guy or whatever the case is. They're not going to know how to deal with that. When your entire life, your entire identity, think about all the brainwashing. You're 8 years old. Now you can carry the mic. Now you've got to set the good example. You've got to be 100% perfect because you're the Jehovah's Witness, or you're the ministerial servant, and then now you're not. And you're just sitting there on the sideline, and everybody that you know and have had relationships with is ignoring you and not talking to you. You don't have relationships with anybody outside of the organization. What are you when you're not that golden child and you're sitting on the sideline for whatever the reason is? Can that person handle that? Can they deal with that? Or do they just off themselves?
Well,
they want to make emotional failures, and I think the Watchtower corporate people are keenly aware of what they're doing. That's my 2 cents on that.
Yep. Yeah. So like in one way, this is a blessing because what this shows is how desperate Watchtower is. They are scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel. They have nobody else. And if they didn't have enough children, guess what they'd be doing? They'd be using the sister. So I guess that's going to be the next thing. So in that respect, we can rejoice that they've been reduced to having to do this. But at the same time, the trajectory of these kids' lives is never going to be the same once Watchtower sucks them in as an 8-year-old. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Stefan. What I'm thinking here too is, what you've got here is you're going to be training these children, really little kids, to really be the top of the heap. And when you're young, and I can remember in baseball. I used to play little league baseball, and there were better players than me. But I always wanted to be on first string. and you would really play your heart out to be on first string. But if you really couldn't make the first string and you were second string, you'd feel bad about it. So, these kids, if for some reason in school, they got involved in a little bad habit or something and they were removed, man, it could really play heavy on these people, on these little kids. Very heavy. Well, thank you, Stefan. What we're going to do here, we're going to switch gears. We're going to bring on an ex Bethelite coming in from the Midwest, and but I want to know after we bring Chewy on here, well, we're going to bring up inheritances. Now, last Sunday we talked about it on the Sunday Six Screens program, and we had people calling in saying how the Watchtower took their inheritance. So this is going to be a fascinating discussion after we talk to Chewy, the ex-Bethelite. So by all means, stay with us. We're going to bring Chewy on right now. Chewy, are you there with us? Hit *6. Are you there with us, Chewy? Let me see if Chewy's with us. Count to 5, Chewy.
How about now?
Okay, you're all set now. Yep. Okay, we got Chewy. Okay, Chewy, we're just going to identify you as Chewy. I know that you have to remain a little incognito here. I know that your wife is still an active Jehovah's Witness, and she's at the convention evidently this weekend, so you're able to speak up and talk, Chewy. But Chewy, let's get you going. Let's go back to the scene of the accident. That's what we call it. Let's go back to, when did you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses, Chewy?
Well, it was I was baptized in 85. I was baptized in 80. Before I get there, that comment that y'all were talking, you made a comment about the Hitler Youth.
Yes.
Comparing it, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I listened to William Shire's audio book, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, 52-hour audio. I read it when I was in the 8th grade because I wanted to find out who my dad was fighting. And it is quoted several times in the Revelation book, but that is exactly the way the Hitler Youth was. They put them in little groups. They put them in little schoolhouses, little classrooms. They were separated. The little boys and the little girls, they didn't have classes together. They were separated. They would give them instruction on how to prepare discourses on subjects that were not really good for kids, like Mr. Smith or something like that, and they would be graded afterwards. They would be graded afterwards on their gestures, everything like that, just like we were in the theocratic ministry school growing up. So I'm just making that comment.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
But I was baptized in 85, July the 7th, 6th or 7th, 85. But before then, my mom came in 61 or 62. And in the last year, I've got a hold of some of her stuff. I just kind of found it accidentally. And she had she saw all her time cards and everything she was putting in. This was before 75. She was putting in 130, 140 hours in a month. And I was right along with her. I was born in 66. I was right along with her. And then my dad, he was a World War II vet. And I was an accident. He was 42, and when I came out, when I popped out, or came on the scene, he was 42. And so we had a good time there. And then he was appointed an elder around 71, 72, pretty rapidly. He was appointed an elder. And then things went along. I really think the reason why I'm living here is because the lady that studied with my mom convinced her to sell the house, move in next to her because 1975 was coming. Because they bought this place in 71. I bought the land, they put a trailer on it. There's a fixed up trailer now. It's not trailer court trailer. It's a nice trailer. And anyway, so that's where I'm at now. But I was baptized in '85, and then I had, kid stuff, when I was in high school, I'd dip a little snuff, a little cigarette here and there. I did develop a drinking problem and a few pills here and there. The pill thing wasn't a bad thing. It was more the drinking thing. I started way too early. I lied. But anyway, things went on. And then by the time I got around to, let's see, in the 11th or 12th grade, I started straightening up a little bit. And then, because I was wanting to get baptized, and so I quit all my habits, all my bad habits, the drinking, or not the drinking, but the snuff here, cigarette here, there. I kind of quit that, And then in the 12th grade, I started straightening it up. And then I was baptized that same summer that I graduated at. And then pretty soon after that, I became a pioneer. And so what the next step after that is, and they appointed me a servant when I was real young, not as young as 8 years old, but I was appointed a servant when I was around about a year or so after high school, about 19 or so, 20, because I was pioneering. And so they went ahead and they appointed me a servant. But for some reason, it took me like 3 or 4 times to get to before I got accepted to Bethel. I just didn't get off on one application. I had to put in about 3 or 4, and I finally got in. I got in '90. I graduated high school in '85, and then I went to Bethel in 1990. And so I stayed there for about 4 years. And to be honest with you, Brett, I wouldn't have stayed that long. If they would have said, David or Julie, you're going to the factory, or you're going to be in the laundry or something like that, I don't think I could have made it. But horror stories about those quotas that they had to do and all this and all that is basically slave labor. But
well, hold on. Let me just ask you here now. Let's. What I'm thinking here. I mean, did you want to really go to Bethel, or were you coerced? Were you kind of pushed to go?
No, I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go. Yeah, I wanted to go. I wanted to get to the headquarters. I wanted to get to the church. I didn't want to go. But they were.
All right, we're having some trouble there, Julie, with your phone. Well, we're having a little trouble with your phone. Are you near a window or outside somewhere?
Okay, now, how's it now?
Oh, it's good now. Yeah, better now. Yep, better now.
Okay.
So better. So you go into Bethel in around 1990, and from your perspective, here's your first day. Tell us about your first day at Bethel. How'd that feel?
My first day.
Well, we are having some difficulty there with Chewy's phone. Chewy, I'm not sure why it's happening, but it's breaking up a lot.
About that, I got one bar at this doggone company of all time. I got one bar on my phone. How's it now?
Better now. Yep.
Okay.
Do you have okay? Just one bar. Yep.
I got internet, but I got the bar on my phone was kind of low. Okay. Anyway, but I basically construction. They put me in construction, and that was the perfect fit. If I was going to be up, that's where I wanted to be at, because there was a lot of freedom. There was a lot of freedom in construction because we worked on brownstones. You can work right by Joe Henderson. He was a plumber, and I would see him every day. Barbara Anderson would see him every day. About good years.
Well, we're having I hate to say it, Chewy, but boy, you're coming so nice here sometimes, but it's just breaking up a lot. Darn it. is there any you want to try to get it go to another area of the house, or maybe near near the window? Oh, well, why don't you dial hang up and dial back in, see if that might help.
Oh, okay, yeah, let me do that.
That's
Okay.
right. All right, we'll get Chewy in back. But friends, that's when you're doing a live program, and you got to have a lot of patience, and you got to learn to work with things that happen in real time. And it happens not a whole lot, but telephones and high technology and
I
streaming.
got 2 bars now.
You got
2 bars.
you
Oh,
got
good.
all right. Well, that's better than
Better.
Chewy. Yep. So let's go back to you going to Bethel for the first day, and tell us what it was like.
Well, the very first day they put you through orientation. They give you the what is that? Dwelling book. The dwelling in
Handbook.
unity, I think is what it's called. The dwelling in unity book. They give you that, and that's all that. But we'll get that, and then they put you through the training. You spend a week. You spend a week on training on cleaning the housekeeping. That's the word I want to use. Housekeeping. You do a week on that, I believe, if I remember right. And I was within the same floor that Garrett Loesch had. He came in a week before me, and they had him on the same floor doing the same work, cleaning, and then with the sister that was in charge, or with the maid or whatever you want, the housekeeper. And then she said, "Oh yeah, Brother Loesch, there was a Brother Loesch there here last week doing this." And I was impressed at the time. I was impressed that, oh wow, this older brother, he's doing the same thing that I was doing. Oh wow, they don't show any partiality. Are y'all still able to hear me?
I can hear better. Yeah, it's good now. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, but then that lasted a week, and then I was put back with the crew because I had went. Let me just a little bit. I was there on temporary work before there 2 weeks in Brooklyn, and then I spent 3 months at Patterson, going back and forth to from Walk Hill to Patterson before I was accepted to Bethel. And I used to ride in the seat, ride in the back, ride in the same car as Cook did, Ken Cook. So I know him. He wouldn't recognize me, but you talk about a dry personality. That dude has a dry personality. But I go back and forth to him to the meetings for about 3 months. And then I went to Brooklyn after that. So I was a little bit pressed. To go to Bethel because I'd been there a few times. But they put me in construction, and if you're at the factory, you work. The only breaks you get, I guess, is during lunch. I never worked in the factory, so I couldn't say too much. But you don't get a break unless you go to lunch. I mean, you work that 4 hours, you get the 4 hours. I mean, you got to pump it out for 4 hours solid. But on construction, it's different because you're away from the buildings, the factory, and the office, and all that. So there was lots of times. I mean, almost every day we had temporary workers that would work around us. That's what they came in for. They didn't put them at the factory or the home. They put them with us. And we said, "Oh, it's time for break time. Time for break time." And boy, somebody saw a temporary worker would come out with a $10 bill or a $20 bill. And we would make an excuse to go down to 360 Furman with the 5-gallon bucket, and we would stock up on bagels, and have cream cheese on them, and coffee and stuff like that. But if the hired up put it on there, oh man, they would have really, they would have shut us down.
Oh yeah, we could get away with more and more. But now let's take a look at the Bethelite family. Now you're there for the first day. Obviously, it's awkward for anybody. I don't care who the person would be. But now you're fitting in. Now, what are some of the things? Did you see anything that took place at Bethel that started having you scratch your head and say, something's not right here? These are brothers. They're not as spiritual as I thought they would be. Did you see anything that would make you think that?
Well, they put me, Rick. That's a good question. They put me on my table seating. My table where I sat at was about 2 tables over from a chair.
Well, we're having trouble again, Chewy. We're having trouble again. Chewy, we're having trouble again with the phone. Darn it! I don't know what is going on with the. Yeah, that's just a shame. It really, really is. Okay, yeah, let's go from there. Yep.
Okay. But I sit right by the chairman's table, and the one there, I got 2 bars now. Maybe I'll just keep the phone here. I sat right by the chairman's table. And this is the old governing body, none of the new ones. And Loesch wasn't even a member of the governing body then. But they would kind of recognize me by sight, that because I was there every day, 5 days a week. And so, but of course, they didn't know my name or anything. They just kind of give me a little wink or something. Hey, how you doing? Something like that. But they didn't really know me or anything like that. So I felt really privileged to be sitting by the chairman's table. So I was kind of in at first I didn't see anything. The first thing that caught my eye or my ear was that I was walking with a brother down the hallway. And I actually think he was a Fruit Loop, but anyway, maybe not. Looking back, anyway, the way he acted and everything. But anyway, he said, there goes Brother so-and-so, Brother Genghis, and Brother Schroeder. He said, there goes Brother Genghis. He's on the translation committee. He doesn't speak any of the old Greek, but he's on the translation committee. If he doesn't speak any of the old Greek, why is he on the translation committee? And he said the same thing about Schroeder. Schroeder was supposed to speak Greek too. He said he don't speak any Greek, but he's on the translation committee. I was like, huh?
Well, you would wonder that, and the funny thing about it too, Joey, is even the New World Translation. They parade that Bible around like it's the best thing God ever gave people for a Bible, but it's not even translated by people that even understood Greek, like you're saying. In fact, they don't even tell you who the real translators were. So they got something to hide with that. But I can see where that could kind of bug you a little bit, because you're starting to see things that really aren't making sense to you. So now, as far as let's talk about all of the other men that were there with you. I mean, men will be men. They want to get together. They like sporting. I mean, could you go to baseball games while you were there? Could you go to the Yankee games or the Giant games or anything like that?
Actually, I went one. There was a sister. I went to a Yankees game one time. I didn't even like baseball, but I went because I had a free ticket. And I went there and I got me a big old bag of that big leaf chew, that bubble gum, that bubble gum that was supposed to be like tobacco or whatever it is. Put a big old wad of it. And I got right into the ambiance of it,
Yeah.
I was like, get him out of there, get him out of there. And then one time we went, there was another sister that got us tickets. Our first year, it was in the English. And that's before I went to the Spanish. And I went to, we went and saw the Phantom of the Opera when it was up there. And on a night up there on Broadway, I guess it was, been so long ago. But we went up there and saw the Phantom of the Opera up there. So yeah, you can get out and do a little bit,
Oh yeah.
I remember one time they had a talk about heavy metal music up there. And boy, everybody the next day was like getting rid of their CDs and all that stuff. This is back when CDs were popular. They were getting rid of their CDs. And I said, I ain't going to get rid of mine. I put mine in the closet. And then I said, I don't want to throw them away because I didn't have a whole lot of income. My parents sent me $20 or $30 a month, but I had about 10 CDs that I felt uncomfortable having. And I said, I'm not going to throw those away. I can take those to Manhattan and sell them. So that's exactly what I did. Is I took a Subway and sold them at a pawn shop and got $10 out of the deal. But before I was always thinking on how to make a little extra money or something. But before that, I had a thought that came into my head. I said, you know, there's more CDs in the trash. They just got through. I saw people throwing them in the trash. And in the morning, everybody, you know, not everybody, but there was a lot of people going to the trash. And I saw them putting in their CDs. I said, you know what I'm going to do? Before I'm at lunchtime, I want to raid this thing and I want to get those CDs. And I just wound up taking about 30 CDs, about 20 or 30 of them over to Manhattan and got like $30 out of the deal. I didn't throw them away.
Well, you had to find anything that would make you be able to make a few extra bucks because it had to be lousy living like that. Now, how about drinking? I mean, what did you see much drinking going on?
Yeah, there was I mean, I drank a lot. In fact, that was kind of a question I had was how was I going to support my booze habit? Because I was drinking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 beers a day, and I said I don't know how that's going to work out. But anyway, I curbed it. I curbed it a little bit. But anyway, yeah, we made. There was a brother and I. There's about 3 or 4 of us. We actually made beer. We made because I had connections before I went to Bethel. I was pioneering and everything, but I sold beer ingredients, believe it or not, out of my room, not out of Bethel room, but before I went there. So I sold beer, the malt, the hops, all the equipment, bottle caps, the whole 9 yards. And I still had those connections from a home brew shop. So I ordered some when I was there, and we started making our own beer and wine up there.
Wow.
And then there was another brother that he lived in the 58th building, which was, I believe, right next to the 30, and only had about 6 or 7 people in there. And he was really cranking out the stuff. I got him a 50-pound bag of dry malt and some stuff, and he started making his own stuff. I helped him out with it. I showed him how to do it and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then one time we went to a commuter sister's place that lived there, and we made a batch of wine. Another group of us, they wanted me to help them make a batch of wine. So there was a commuter sister there, about 4 or 5 blocks away from Bethel. So we made a couple batches of wine and give her about 3 or 4 quarts out of each batch. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, no doubt about it. That's exactly what, all the stories I've had with Bethelites coming on here, there was always drinking going on. Well, how about homosexuality? Did you see any of that?
Well, yeah, let me say this more about the drinking, and then I'll move on to that. Because there was a couple of tutus down the hallway from me. They had to be. Oh, they had to be. The way they walked. I call them the Bethel High Steppers now. They had just a little bit too much jiggle in their wiggle. Okay, the way I like to put it. Too much jiggle in their wiggle.
Sure.
Anyway, but there was during the Gilead grads, going back to the alcohol thing, there was 2 or 3 times that I said that there's a lot of drinking that went on in those Gilead grads. You went up to a person's room. I was shocked. In fact, I actually went and asked the Bethel brother and elder, which I'll get to here in a little bit. He comes back into my story, and I said, "Is it proper? I've been invited to so and so's room for a couple of drinks before the meal, but is that proper? Do we do that?" And he said, "Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But thanks for asking. But there was 2 or 3 times, Rick, that I heard of a sister drinking too much, and she lost it at the table. She tossed her cookies at the table. And I'm sure Barbara Anderson's heard a few stories like that too. But there was one that there was a sister that they drank too much and they threw up at the visitor table. There's a couple times on that. Now even my roommate that I lived with, one of them, we made comments on those 2 brothers that lived together. The way they walked and the way they actually kind of flirted in the hallway. When him and we saw them when nobody was looking. They thought nobody was kind of looking, and they were just the way they acted together. Just the way they acted. It was very, very obvious that they were they lean toward that. And there was one time there was a brother and sister, and I think actually Barbara Anderson was there. She's not going to remember; it's so long ago. But that they had that were disfellowshipped. They made an announcement from the table that said so and so have been disfellowshipped. They were not a married couple, and the way they announced it was that they were disfellowship, and it was obvious. I forget exactly how they phrased it, but it was very obvious what they had done. You know, they did the nasty. They did the nasty together, right? So they kicked them out, and they said so and so, which was the innocent mates, were not involved with this case. Were not involved or something like that. So it's very obvious the way it was that those two committed fornication or had adultery, and that the other two were innocent, and they were staying at Bethel. So the announcement made it pretty obvious it's what went on. So yeah, there's
Yeah. So what I'm thinking here, people that we all knew very little about Bethel as we were all attending the Kingdom Hall. And then I'm thinking that, we always thought it was this pristine, pure place where, the brothers and sisters were so spiritual and doing everything right. But, the different stories of people coming on here, and Barbara Anderson and others that have come on here telling about their Bethel incidents. There's a lot of problems that went on there, Chewy. And that's what I want the audience to hear. Now, you mentioned that fornication going on. Do you think there was a lot of illicit sex going on there at Bethel? Well, maybe you didn't see much of it because, it's going to be done privately, of course. Yeah.
right. And there was, and they made you keep the door open. That was their rule. If you had a girl, you do not shut. If you had a girlfriend, you do not shut the door. You kept that door wide open. That was their rule.
Yeah.
That was their rule, and that was their deal. I had a girlfriend. I had 2 or 3 of them when I was up there, but none of them worked out.
Yeah.
But then I worked in the construction there for that, and then I went to. There was a brother there. There was a brother that okay, I'll talk about this one. Yeah, he ran off. He was like 2 levels up. He was a project coordinator. Yeah, that's the word I was wanting. He was a project coordinator at 90 Sands. They had 4 of them. He was one of them, and he actually was disfellowshipped, cleaned out the bank account, and somehow around that he was a heavy drinker too. And he actually tried to get one of the commuter girls that was a commuter there to go with him, but they cleaned out the bank account, took all of his booze with him. He was disfellowshipped and left his wife there at Bethel.
Wow.
I think she may still be there. Yeah.
Well, you must have heard a lot of stories. So let's bring it up to speed now. As you were there at Bethel and you worked with construction, and what particular building did you work on?
Well, 90 Sands was the big one. That was the big one. And that was, that's the skyscraper. It's a 30-story skyscraper. In the Aviance, I was there at the kickoff meeting. And probably Joe and Barbara Anderson were there too, probably. And they had Max Larson up there at the 107 Kingdom Hall, and that's where they had the kickoff meeting at for 90 Sands. And he made a comment about the people that started the building, because Watchtower they didn't have the equipment or anything like that to build a 30-story skyscraper. And so he was given a little story, hopefully it'll come out right, about how, and it was mafia. It was an independent, I say the mafia, I'm sure they got their piece out of it. But they built the building for them, okay? They put in the windows for them, but they wanted more. And Max Larson got up on stage and said that the judge sided with us, and he did a little wink, because he was on camera. He did a little wink, and he made a comment that the reason why the judge kind of favored the witnesses, is because he kind of knew the judge a little bit, and so they got a little favorable ruling that company that was doing the building on 90 Sands wasn't going to be able to do anymore. Okay, it was all on the Watchtower, so they kind of fought a little bit, and Max Morrison kind of indicated that he kind of had an inside track on the judge there a little bit. So,
All right, now the 90 Sands building. So did they build that from scratch? It just wasn't refurbishing, right? They built it from scratch.
no, they built that from scratch. Yeah, they tore down a factory. They tore down a factory to do that. I remember that because I was hanging around with one of the big project coordinator. I was hanging around him before they actually assigned me. And they said, "Oh, this is a new guy, so we just want you to hang around him and do what he says." Yeah, he's still there too.
Hey,
But,
Chewy, what is a
project
Chewy? What is a project coordinator? I'm not familiar with that term.
Well, it's just one that had more authority. A project coordinator was one that they, like if you had a brownstone or something that they were doing, you would have a brother that was in charge of that. He was in charge of the project. You wouldn't have heard that outside of Bethel. You wouldn't have heard that outside
I
of Bethel.
didn't, yeah.
But he was in charge of that particular construction project. They call him a project coordinator. In 90 Sands, you had 4 of them. You had 4 project coordinators, and then you had a big one above them.
Now, were all these coordinators, were they all elders? Were they really like high up?
Right.
They were, yeah.
They've been there 10, 15 years.
Well, they must have been valuable to the Watchtower. I mean, to be in that position, to build a building from scratch that was like a skyscraper. I didn't know they did that. I thought they might have just bought the building and refurbished it.
It wasn't really Watchtower that built the building. It was an independent. It was an outside firm that did the building, and then they put in the windows, and they took them to court because they wanted to do more. And the court and the judge says, "No, we're not going to let you do any more. You can have the rest of it, but you're not going to. We're not going to let you. You don't need to do anymore. You got the building and you got the windows. That's enough." So that was an independent construction company.
Wow.
But yeah, Watchtower did have control over it. Yeah.
They hired them?
Yeah. Well, no, in fact, they were even hiring independent people now in some of their projects. Yeah. It's not all Bethelites anymore.
Right. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much the way Ramapo's going, I think.
That's exactly right. No, I've heard that too. It's independent contractors. Yeah. So anyways, that's fascinating, Chewy. So is there anything that keeps Chewy awake at night about Bethel?
Not too much. There's a couple of stories here I'll talk about because I know you said you got something going. Or it's 8:30 now on my time. You said you had another one coming on, but there was one story that there was. They moved me about 6 months before I what's the word I want to use? Before I left, they transferred me to Kingdom Hall Construction. And that was cool. I loved that because you went out and you worked on Kingdom Halls and you met friends. You had different kind of foods in Bethel. You didn't eat at Bethel. That was a good thing. Sometimes you wouldn't even eat breakfast there. You got up at 4 o'clock because you were pouring concrete. And so you ate out there. You ate there on the job. And so that was a good thing. And then but I didn't know this when it dawned on me. You talked about things dawning on me. This dawned on me back then, but it was just one thought that went out the other side. And then it came back years later as to actually what was going on. But this guy, because sometimes we would miss our meals. We would get back late, and so you would miss the Bethel meal because you couldn't walk in really too late to a Bethel meal. Once they said the prayer, if you walked in, it's like, "Ooh, what are you doing here?" Right? But on the weekends it was a little bit lax on the weekends, but not too much. But anyway, I'd go. So we would get back and we would miss our meal, and so they said, "Well, if they missed a meal, then you could just go and get a submarine sandwich from somewhere there in Brooklyn or something like that on the way back. Give us the receipt, and we'll reimburse you for it." Well, it's the congregation that we came back from is the one that they got reimbursed from, okay? They charged those brothers every month. They sent the bill to them. They charged them by the hour for each of us being out there. And I know that for a fact because the Bethel elder came up to me and said, on these meals that I was able to get, I said, oh, good. I guess I get to have a big Subway sandwich, and I actually got a pizza on top of it, right? And I got a submarine sandwich. And he said, careful on that, Dave, Chewy. Careful on that. I say the word Dave. He said, careful on that, because the brothers are getting charged for that. The congregation, the local congregation, is getting charged for that. Just like they're charging them by the hour for us to go out there. And I went, really?
Well, that is that is something to really, highlight. Now, I did hear that when brothers would go out and build a Kingdom Hall, that the congregation was on the hook to pay them. But this idea of food, my goodness gracious, it's just pitiful what the Watchtower does. They don't want to spend a dime of their own money, Chewy. It's terrible.
Yeah, but the whole thing came back to me about a year ago, a year or two ago. I said, that is a doggone, that was a scam. Those poor brothers and sisters. But I really enjoyed the work, because, you go out to those Kingdom Halls, some of them had 4 and 5 congregations ready to move into that Kingdom Hall, right? This is back in the 90s, and so they had to have, special, they had to have people that knew what they were doing. You just couldn't let the local brothers do it because of all the permits, and they didn't have it was just a different house. But you just didn't get a blank piece of land to build a Kingdom Hall on. You had to tear that stuff down and rebuild it the way you wanted it there in New York. But anyway, but yeah, they did that. That was all. But you had 5 different. I mean, you could have two Spanish in there, and maybe a French or a Portuguese or a Chinese. So you would have all sorts of different kinds of food in there coming at you all week long, and you always had a muffin somewhere that you could grab. So it was great, man. I loved it. Yeah.
Well, my goodness. So anyway, so you got out of Bethel and you went back to, you might not want to mention where you went back to, but, kind of stay in.
Say again now?
Oh, I was saying that so you left Bethel, you moved. I don't want to really give you away here tonight. I know you're trying to go a little incognito, but you moved back to go to the Midwest. Now, when you moved back, you were still a witness in good standing, and you went to the Kingdom Hall. And tell us how you married your wife, or how you found her.
Oh, okay. That was years and years later. I got one other Bethel story. Can I tell that?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one time. Now you got to picture this. I hope this comes through, because I got it on my iPad. There's a clip I took from one of your programs about 2 years ago, and I told this story about 2 weeks ago, but I pulled up the clip. But when I first went to Bethel, in my first year, I was familiar with what happened to Greenleaf and Chitty. I knew why they weren't there. I didn't know exactly the details. Didn't want to know the details. But a brother actually kind of indicated why they left. So I know they had a problem with the little boys, right? Or with the boys. So that's why I said. So anyway, within my first year, I heard that there was a sauna down underneath the 124 building. And I went, huh? Well, I want to go see that. I want to go visit that. That's cool. So I went down there and I looked at it. I said, yeah, they got like a little shower place. You can take a shower here, this and that, this and that, this and that. Then so I said, okay. So I went down there. It was really nice. There was about 6 or 7 people there, maybe 8. I mean, that could fit in there. I went in there. It was alone. I was alone. Okay. But you could fit about 6, had cedar lined seats in it and everything like that. Benches, I should say. They had the rocks in there. You could have the steam in there. And then afterwards you could shower. I went, that's cool. Yeah. So I went down there, and then the next day, I went down there to the Bethel table, which is about two tables over from the chairman's table. And I said, oh, wow. I had a good time last night. They all looked at me. I said, what'd you do? I said, I went down to the sauna down there. The whole table went silent. A couple of little giggles. Oh no, what's going on there? They had morning worship. Nobody had said anything. at morning worship, and I had the table foot, which was a Bethel elder, came up to me and said, "You know, that's where Greenless had his activity." Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh no! I just got through eating breakfast. I just got through eating breakfast. I was pissed. I was pissed. I went down to the 30. I went down to the 30 building where the locker room was at. I was griping about it. I was in the locker room. Joe Anderson used to change his clothes there. Okay. And there was another brother that was in charge of us. He was a Bethel elder. He had gray hair. His name was Joe also. It wasn't Joe Anderson, but his name was Joe also. Joe also. And I think he may still be living now still. But anyway, and he put his arm around me. He said, "Most people don't go back down there when they find out what went on." That was it. Now let's fast forward. I told this story a couple of weeks back on Sixth String, but let's fast forward, and hopefully this will come through. I really want it to come through. Let me see here. Now, I heard this on your program about 2 years ago. And now you got a picture. This is the first time I've heard about this sauna since I left. Okay? Tell me, I want to stop it here in about 5 seconds, but I want to make sure you can hear it, okay?
Okay, good.
All right. Well, normally, what I'm about to say, normally I would bring this up. But can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. It's time. But since you mentioned that, when I was a Bethelite, one of the main favorite things that I would do, that I just love to do, would be once a week, every week, on Wednesday night at 8 p.m., like clockwork, I would go down to the sub-basement of the 124 building, way below the way below the kitchen there, and said religiously once a week, every week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. to join brother friends in the sauna. Now, of course, at that time, there was about half a dozen, only about half a dozen of us would do that, and brother friends would, of course, take pride and relish in the fact that he could outlast everyone else in the sauna. That's number one. Number two, when we were all in the sauna there together, he would tell his Greek cohort companion there, Pete Papadopoulos, he'd say, "Pete, throw on some more water on the poles," and he would do the special electrically heated thing with special hot coals on it, dump water on it. Boy, it would just blast up the temperature and so on. And all these young Bethel boys that couldn't take it,
I think we lost the bars there, Joey. You there with us, Joey? Well, let's see.
What happened?
You there, Joey?
did you get all that?
Oh, we got most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. In fact, I know the brother that was talking. That's our good friend Larry. But no, so he mentioned the sauna. That must have brought back memories, huh?
Oh yeah, you old man. I was like, what's he gonna say about France? Did they do something? Oh no, okay, they're doing the spiritual thing. Okay, all right.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. My goodness. So you heard that, yeah? I remember him when he talking about that. Yep.
Right. So yeah. Well, I came. The reason why I left, Rick. The reason why I left, there was a party up there, and they had a party. It was on. I lived on the second floor. There was a party on the fourth floor, and it got out of hand. And
What did
there
you
was a
mean
couple
by
of them that
getting
really got drunk. And there was, I wasn't there for that. There was some, I'm not sure what all went on, but they had 4 or 5 of us because I left. There was a brother there, and he was kind of loaded a little bit, you know. And I asked him. I said, "Hey, can I need some money. Can I borrow some money?" He said, "Yeah." Okay, so he gave me some money, and then but he was drunk. He didn't remember that. And there was some other stuff. I left, and he then there was a couple of others that left at the same time, and there was some stuff that went on there, and some, I don't say, well, I think it was just like a one-time deal, but there was some boy stuff went on there, sexual stuff went on there. I'll say it that way. And then, and I was there, but I was there after. I was there before that. I left, but I got some money off of him. Well, he didn't remember it because he was drunk, but he remembered that he had it in his wallet, so he reported it. And so they did some investigating, and I got it, and I was kicked out, man. They disfellowshipped me, and they disfellowshipped a couple of other brothers there at the same time. And so when I came back, it wasn't a good thing. I had so much stress, so much anxiety. I mean, they locked me up in a room. The next day, they talked with me. They said, "Did you take it?" I said, "Yeah," but I asked him, "Well, he don't remember that. He doesn't remember that." I said, "I'm telling you, we were talking about it. And he said, and after it was all over with, and I came back, it took me about, almost a year to get back in. And actually, I talked with one of the elders that they reinstate you from Brooklyn. They don't reinstate you. And one of the reasons why he said that was probably they were so harsh on me was because back at the time their policy was or the Watchtower's policy was if you were reproved, not only in Bethel but in general, but if you were reproved, you could, what's the word I want to use? You had to stay in the same congregation because the elder body there had to work with you. If they knew that you were going to move to another congregation, they were supposed to disfellowship you, not reprove you, because they wanted you to work with the same group. So since they could have reproved me, but since I didn't qualify to be a Bethelite anymore, they couldn't work with me. The elder body that told me that couldn't work with me. I was going to be sent back to my own congregation, so they DF'd me. And the other brothers, they did too, but that was a whole different circumstance. That was a whole different ball of wax. But they lock you up in a room. Once they find out something like that. And they keep you there until it's over with.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting. That's fascinating. Yeah, that's fascinating, Chewy. That's, boy, I'll tell you what, though, being disfellowship, that had to be hard going back home. That really put a lot of pressure on you, boy.
What was your crime again?
Rick, big time. And I had so much stress and anxiety. What I did was, Rick, and I'll put this out on
So is this for drinking too much and then they locked you in a room?
No. The after it wasn't about me. It wasn't about the drinking. What it was with me is there was a brother there, and he was drunk. He was a friend of mine. We're still friends today. He feels very sorry about what happened. He's still in, and I call him about once a year. But what it was I asked him, "Do you have any money? I need to borrow some money." I remember what it was, $10, and he says, "Yeah." He didn't remember it the next day. So after the party was over, he woke up and he said, "Someone got some money out of my wallet. I'm going to report it." And he didn't know. I didn't know. He did that. And so they started investigating. I said, "Well, yeah, I took the money. He said I could." Well, he doesn't remember it. Well, because he was drinking. That's why. Well, he's not going to say he was drunk because then he's going to go, right? So that's the reason why it was. It wasn't about the drinking for me. That sort of thing. They said it was. They said I stole the money. I didn't steal the money. I asked for it. So anyway, that's is it clear now?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Pixie got that now. Yeah, so I understand. In other words, you get railroaded. You get. I could see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it took me took me. They kept all my stuff there too. I had a bunch of construction tools and stuff like that. They kept all that stuff about 6 months before I got it.
Wow.
Anyway, that's yeah.
Well, that's quite a story, Chewy. My goodness gracious, that's quite a story. So now what happens? So you went back, you left Bethel, and of course that had to be difficult. Now you went back where you came from, and you weren't accepted. People didn't. I mean, people must have been coming up to you and saying, "Well, Chewy, my goodness, you came from Bethel." But what did you have to tell me with this fellowship, or they all knew it?
No, they knew.
Yeah.
There was a couple of them that didn't, but they knew. And the next day, Rick, I've known them. What's the word I want to use? Obviously, I've known it, but I just felt more comfortable about talking. But this is funny. Rick. This is funny. I'm glad I'm on YouTube. I'm glad this is going on YouTube. The next day, because I mentioned that I had a tobacco problem in high school. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. A few bits here and there. I went back to that. I went to the local grocery store and I got a big old can of Copenhagen, and I put about half that stuff in my mouth, a big old dip. And to be honest with you, Rick, I quit it 7 years ago, 4 years ago. I dipped snuff until 4 years ago as a witness.
Wow.
And I got rid of it 4 years ago. I actually, when I was in the Spanish and giving parts on the meeting, sometimes I would have a little bit in my jaw.
Well, I never heard of it.
I got rid of it. I got right up. I haven't had a drink in 7 years. I haven't had a dip of snuff in 4 years. My legs don't shake anymore. Like I grew up, my legs shook. My legs shook, and I would chew my nails off. I don't do that. I've lost my weight. I'm not a diabetic anymore. I've reversed that also. So my life is
Congratulations. That snuff is a nasty habit.
Yes, it is.
Congratulations on all counts. Good for you.
Well, I agree. I agree. I'll tell you, that snuff is bad. That is bad stuff. But people get into it like any other bad habit. Even my grandfather used to chew tobacco too. And I'll tell you what, it is brutal, nasty, dirty stuff. Jeez.
Yes, it is. And I'll say this. I know there's probably some people out there that would like to know how I did that, because I actually quit the alcohol and the tobacco about the same time, and you're really not supposed to do that. But the dentist, he said, "Hey, Dave," he said, "Hey, you really need to think about it." He said, "I quit smoking. You're starting to get lesions in your jaw." Oh, really? So I switched to what you see now in stores, the without the tobacco. They got these little cans. They got these little on. Just by accident. I said, "I'll try this one." So it was like 8 milligrams of nicotine per deal, and then it went down to 6. Then I had one that said 6, and one down to 4, and one down to 2. And I got down to the 2 milligrams. I said, "You know what?" I said, "Let me just switch over to Dentine or some cinnamon toothpaste." And boom, that was it. I was like, wow.
Well,
I
good.
didn't feel a difference because I graduated myself down.
Good for you, Chewy. So, okay, so when you left Bethel, you went back. Of course, people now, you were just fellowshipped. So tell us what happened afterwards. You got reinstated. Now, you're married today. You have a Jehovah's Witness wife. She's still pretty active. So tell us a little bit about that situation.
Well, that's better. I've talked about that 2 or 3 times, but the last 6 months, there's and I've gotten this with other people that I've talked to. They don't have any defense anymore. The people that I talk with, it's like you can just tell it in their voice.
So what you're saying is you're noticing a change. So even with your wife now, I mean, you live with her and you're observing her, and she has been always pretty much a staunch witness. So tell us how she's changing somewhat, Chewy.
Well, not necessarily that I know of, but I mean, we haven't got that far yet. But this is the thing, she's more accepting on a lot of things, just more accepting. Before, just an example, well, there's a couple here. Before, let's see, what was I about to say here? I lost my before, hated, it was all the money, blah, 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 every bit of it. Kiss got on there, and she wouldn't even try, she wouldn't even watch an interview with them at all. I mean, she would just turn that thing off. Oh, they got double horns on them and all that stuff. I walk into the room, and she's like watching Gene Simmons on Spanish TV. I was like, where did that before you'd run out of the room, you'd change the channel. Now you're watching the thing. And she said, look, there goes your buddy. Yeah, he's pretty cool. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And then the other one is, she talks about, she said, oh, look at that new school. Oh, all the young kids, they need to have schools. They need an education in this world. I was like, where'd that come from? You're not supposed to be saying that at all. And then I was telling her, because I've been doing some research on my
Well, Chewy, I tell you, you're breaking up a lot on us again. Were you in changing positions here or something? Go back to where it was good, because it's breaking up again.
about now.
Yeah, it's good now. Yep.
Go back to the research. You were saying you were doing research. That's where we stopped hearing you. I want to hear this part.
Okay, well, I was just doing some research on my uncle, and he was right next to the Band of Brothers. I know I'm kind of deviating a little here from Six Strings, but he was right next to the Band of Brothers, and he went right with them on the gliders on D-Day. He was right next to them. And I said, that's where my brother was. I mean, my uncle was. AI said he was right there. He's the next group over. And she thought, really? Boy, she actually watched half that show. She watched half that show on Band of Brothers. And that's the reason I was watching it, because I wanted to see where my uncle was at. And she was like, what? Before, she would never do that. She would just got up and walked out.
What was the name of Chewy, hold on one second. What was the name of the show? Go slow with that. What was the name of the show she was watching?
Oh, Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers. Okay. Yep.
Band of Brothers. It's on HBO. Band of Brothers.
Just about what?
Well, what's that show about? I'm curious. I never heard of it. No.
Oh, it was about the
It's all the Rangers that climb Point de Hoc at Normandy.
Yeah. It just follows this trek all the way through to the Eagle's Nest up in Hitler. Through the war. The war. And my uncle was right next to him.
Wow.
So before, she would just turn her back on that and just walk away, But even in her voice, it's just like when I mentioned to her, there was two, when this blood thing come up, I mentioned to her, there was two people I talked to about that. A best friend of mine who's still in, and her. I let them know that I knew before it was coming. I let them know, both of them, because I wanted to know that, yeah, I have a connection. Okay, and it is right. It's coming, and it did come, right? Because I told them on Wednesday, and then it showed up on the website on Friday. So anyway, I saw her get up. I didn't see her get up. I realized that she wasn't in bed, and she went to the website. She was on the other part of the trailer, and she was at the on the other part watching it. And I was like, oh, you did pay attention to what I said. You did pay attention to what I said. And then with the TikTok thing on there, I said, babe, they are on TikTok and Instagram. And she said, no, they're not. It's not them. It's not them. It's not them. Yes, it is, baby. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But her voice inflection when she said that was like, oh, no, not another one. not another. No, not another change.
Well, at least she's starting to show some. She's showing some signs of at least thinking a little bit and thinking differently about it, Chewy. So that's good. So you hold hope for her.
Yeah, right. Well, even we were. I forgot about this. I said it was just some little thing, a little bit of a home remedy that I picked up from a Amish guy on YouTube. And she said, "Where'd you get that idea from?" And I said, "What's this Amish guy on YouTube? There's his channel." He said, "Well, if he's Amish, what's he doing on YouTube?" Huh? Good question. Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. So yeah, she's thinking something. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, Chewy, thank you. Thank you for sharing some thoughts with us. Let's just open up the lines. Let's open up the lines. If someone has a question for Chewy, he's an ex-Bethelite. You heard his story tonight. Go ahead. Yep.
Hey, Mr. Chewy, this is Stephan. I just had a quick question. I enjoyed your experiences. It's pretty common from what I've heard as well. I just wanted to ask you one question. Was there ever anything that you saw or was a part of at Bethel that made you think this is really God's organization? This is really the house of God, Holy Spirit. It's just, permeating every orifice in this place. Did you ever, after all the said and done, did you ever say anything to that effect?
Oh yeah. When I first went to Bethel, that's what I thought. I was at the hub of it, man. I was at the hub, and boy, them putting me down by the chairman's table. I was 2 tables over from the chairman's table. Oh, when the congregation back home thought of that, when they heard about that, oh, that David Marshall or David, it doesn't matter. That David is 2 tables over from the governing body. Oh man, not only was I Bethelite, but I got to see the governing body every day. Oh yeah, you bet. That was.
So then, after you had been there for a while and really saw how Bethel was ran, did you still have that feeling that this is God's organization and it's powered by Holy Spirit and all the rest?
At the time, yes. At the time, yeah, I did. Even when I left, even when I got DL.
Oh, okay. All right. That's all. Thank you very much.
Now, I did have those 2 little comments about Genghis and Schroeder. Those just about not speaking Greek, but they're on the translation committee. That was in one year and not the other year. Yeah.
Sure. Great. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got a number of people on here tonight to get a question for Chewy. I want to ask him something. Maybe you're a former Bethelite as well. Go ahead and speak up. Say hello, Chewy. Hit *6. All right. Well, what I find fascinating, Chewy, about this whole thing, and we've had a few Bethelites come on here, but that question that Stephan just asked you about, was there at any point you thought this might have been God's house? And generally speaking, I mean, when a person goes there, that's what you would think. When people even go there when they take a tour through Bethel, wow, this is something else. This is basically where God lives, so to speak. But boy, I'll tell you, after you're there for a while, you start to settle in a little bit, and you can see that this is really not even God's house. This is a sham. I never was a Bethelite, but I have been to Bethel numerous times. As you know, I got to know Los down there, and boy, I'll tell you, just in one day, I was able to sum up the idea that this is not a religion. This is a business. It's a money-making business. Well, Chewy, I want to thank you very, very, very much. Yeah, someone else want to go ahead. So, Chewy, what's your last words here? Give us your last words.
Oh, I'm plugging along now. When I woke up, that kind of happened to coincide with me going to work at Home Depot. I was at Home Depot for about 11 years, and when I woke up, they said, "Well, can you work on Saturdays?" And at that point, I was like, I cannot take this message to the door anymore. Yeah, I'll go to work for you. I'll go to work. I don't care if I've got to miss service on Saturday. I'm going to work for you because my wife and I, we're going to be here a little bit longer than what I was thinking.
Well, there you go. Well, you were sensible to do that, Chewy. Well, you're a good man, Chewy. Now, don't you ever change. And thank you for coming on here and being with us tonight.
Rick?
Yes.
Rick, exactly.
Yes, Zach.
Hi. I have to say, I really do appreciate hearing about 90 Sands going up. I worked at 77 Sands, which was building 2 in the factory complex. And I was there when they purchased building 5 and then building 6. Those are the 2 factory buildings that were next to each other. And they put the bridge up from the 4 building complex over to those 2 new factory buildings. They were old, but they got cleaned up and all that. And then, like you said, they had to tear one down to build that 90 Sands building.
Right.
I really appreciate hearing about that. And before they did put the building at 90 Sands, what they were trying to do was put the building over closer to Columbia Heights, somewhere closer to the river, and they were not able to do it.
Right.
And
Now,
go ahead.
Okay.
I was going to say, secretly, I did not want them to be able to put the building up so close to the river, because that benefits the Bethel lights with a lot of years behind them, all the heavies, as they call them. But because of having to put it over closer to the factory building, that would benefit people who had less seniority. So I was glad they never got it up over there near the river.
Hey, Zach, do you know, I told did you hear the story?
I didn't hear you. Go ahead, say it again, please. I can't hear anything.
No, he's got some problems with his phone going on there tonight. Chewy, we cannot hear you again.
Okay, and what about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, hey, Zach,
Yes.
the brother that told me about the sauna, right?
Uh-huh.
His name, he was Laverne Clifton's husband.
Oh my God, I worked with her.
Right.
I worked with her.
We had a conversation.
She's the best Christian on earth. She's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. It was her husband that told me that.
Really? You know, the only time I saw the sauna was on the orientation tour. That's the only time I saw the sauna. I never went to the sauna.
Okay, back up. Listen to this program tomorrow, and there's an experience about me and the sauna in there, and about another experience. Get it on YouTube tomorrow. Go through it, and you'll
Okay. Thanks so much for dropping that name, Laverne Clifton. What a nice person she was.
Oh, she was a sweetheart.
Yeah, one of the nicest people on earth. Yeah.
She was so sweet. She didn't even need to be a Bethel. She was so sweet.
But well, what she would do, everybody would believe this was truly God's organization. If you met Laverne Clifton, you would feel she could bring everybody into the organization.
She could. She had a lot of health problems.
Oh, did she? I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, she missed. Believe it or not, she missed about 30% of the morning worships.
Oh, no. Well, I was probably there. I was there mid to late 80s, so I was probably there leaving just as you were coming. So when I was there, she seemed to be fine. But I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, I think we're about to.
Thanks so much.
Unless there's another person who wants to talk.
Okay. Anyone else want to say a little Chewy before we cut him loose? Anyone else out there got a question for Louie? Chewy? Yeah. Well, you got me. I'll tell you.
Let me say this one thing about after I left Bethel, there was another brother. I kept in touch with some people. And so one of the brothers who used to work on our same floor with Laverne Clifton, I think we kept in touch, and he wrote a letter. Will Laverne Clifton, will she ever get out of that hellhole? And what he meant was the floor we worked on.
Oh, wow.
All right, that's all.
Well, thank you, Zach, and thank you, Chewy. And now don't you be a stranger, Chewy. When you can, you come on back on. I know you had an opportunity to do it tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask Chewy a question.
Go ahead if you're still with us. Go.
Hey, and it's kind of about the 4th of July. And Rick, I was going to send you a picture I got on my Facebook account with me and my brothers close to the bicentennial in 1976. I'll try to send that to you later. But my question is, my big brother, he was like a big elder in Arkansas, and he used to call me Satan when me and my other brothers, we were all elders. And I think the reason he would call me Satan is because I was always politically involved. And I was a right-winger, even though I was a Jehovah's Witness elder. But my question to you is, did you ever see, my brother Joe said that was the biggest sin in the organization would be to not be politically neutral, that you were satanic. Did you ever see any disfellowshipping for people who got involved or said anything politically?
No.
No, like, because sometimes people will state an opinion on abortion, on something that might be politically charged. And so in Bethel, everybody is pretty much politically neutered then.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
I never had any. Now, is this Gilbert?
No. This is his older and wiser brother.
Hey, well, I was gonna correct. Let me say this. I know you said you got something going on at 10 o'clock or whatever. Let me say this. So, Rick, you need to when you introduce the Sixth Street now, see, because you're getting the clientele here. See, you and Susan met one another, and you're still together. You got Dick and Constance that are still together. They met one another on Sixth Street. Now you got Gilbert and Nadine. Correct? Did I hear that a couple weeks back on Sixth Street Sunday?
Yeah, they've been coming on a lot lately too. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. But, hey, this is a platform, man. You need to start promoting, man. You might find your soulmate out on there.
Well, one time, in fact, on Reddit, which is a forum online, someone said, "Yeah, the Six Screens is becoming a dating site." Yeah. Well, thank you, Chewy. Yes.
Yeah.
Rick, this is Craig from Florida.
Yes, Chris. Good.
How are you?
Good.
Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dialed in a few minutes late, and I know that you, in light of today's holiday, you were talking, I missed the first 10, 15 minutes, talking about Jehovah's Witnesses' neutrality and allegiance and celebration of any nation's holidays, etc. What's interesting, and I grew up 35 years in the organization and disassociated myself in 2000. What's interesting is that when one takes the naturalization oath of office to become a citizen, part of that oath, which can be read by Googling it, it says, I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law. That's interesting, that I have never heard that a witness could not take the oath because it violates the religion's doctrines to become a citizen. That's not being neutral when you say, I will bear arms on behalf of the United States. They're hypocrites, because undoubtedly thousands and thousands of witnesses have become citizens of the United States and had to take this oath of allegiance. It's the same thing that kids are barred from pledging the allegiance to the flag in the United States. It's basically the same thing. They're hypocrites, and they choose and cherry.
Here's a letter. There's a letter that the presiding overseer signs when you take the oath of naturalization as a conscientious objector in the United States of America. What you see, if you're a naturalized citizen in the Spanish or in any other language, you know about it. But you go to the presiding overseer, the secretary. You go to the secretary. He will give you a pre-written form. It's one paragraph that you're a Jehovah's Witness, and you sign it. And you give it to the presiding overseer. He signs it, and you take it to the naturalization office, the United States Naturalization Office. They accept it. They recognize the Jehovah's Witness neutrality stand. I know we disagree with it. but the United States government accepts it.
No, I didn't know. Thank you for clarifying that, because I would think it would be a mandatory oath, but you clarified how they get out of it or make a loophole.
My wife, this is Julie, my wife went through that.
The witnesses and the Quakers don't have to do oaths. Witnesses and Quakers do not have to do oaths.
Chewy, what happened with your wife? Come back with your wife.
Yeah, I went through that, and I was wondering, well, there was another thing going on. I was wondering whether she was even going to stay there for the whole thing or not. But because they had a religious ceremony in front of the oath thing. And I was surprised she stayed for it. But yeah, I asked her, I said, now what do you do when they do that? What do you do when they're doing that? Because I didn't know what she was doing, because I was out, she's not going to tell me the details of what she had to do as far as congregation. She wasn't going to do that. But she said, I said, what do you do when you're supposed to raise your hand and give that oath? She said, she didn't really have an answer for it, She really didn't have an answer for it. I was really surprised. But anyway, that's it. That's just my comment.
Okay, Joey. Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate it. And stay in contact and keep waving that flag of victory. Thank you, Joey.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Well, Susan, I just want to mention here what happened last week is we gave the hotline.
Yes.
We had the hotline number mixed up. It was brand new, so Susan has a hotline. She's already got a caller too, and even though we gave the wrong number out. But anyways, Susan will tell you about the hotline. Susan, come on and tell people.
Sorry about that, but the numbers got transposed. So we apologize if any of you tried to call and couldn't get through. But the new number is 978 954 1415.
Say it again.
978 954 1415. And I'd be happy to talk with any of you at any time.
So what this hotline is, now here you're on YouTube and Facebook Live. And, like Chewy was just on, and people can hear him, and who knows who watches or listens in. But, a lot of people aren't ready for that yet. So they just want to talk to someone in private. Susan will talk to you in private. She's done this before. She's got upwards of 10, 12 calls a day. So if you are planning on leaving the Watchtower, or you have already left and you're having some frustrations about the whole thing, Susan will be glad to talk to you. I know even when I was getting out, I would talk to anybody I could that could kind of work me through this. So if you were out there and you're kind of in a dilemma, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to call, you don't know who to talk to, you can talk to Susan. And that's a telephone number. Dial that number. Now, what I'll do is I'll put that number up on the 6 screens. It won't be up there tonight, but it'll be up there first of the week. The new number, you can call in, go to 6screens.com, www.6screensofthewatchtower.com, and you'll be able to see the number, the hotline. And I'm going to put it up on Facebook a lot too. And I think we'll even take some advertisements out on Facebook for it as well. Because a lot of people right now are leaving the Watchtower. And it's hard for them. They're not sure exactly what to do. Susan has the experience. She was a Jehovah's Witness for over 30 years of her life. And she can tell you a lot. So by all means, call Susan on the hotline. Give the number again, Susan.
The number is 978 954 1415.
Well, there you go. Well, that's the hotline. So give Susan a call. All right. I want to just talk about this for a second. How the money rolls in. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the money rolling into the Watchtower. Well, we know the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Well, we know them as the arm of the Jehovah's Witnesses, right? It receives substantial income from wills, trusts, and legacies left by members. And I think we all know that listening in. A lot of people have left the Watchtower a lot of their money in their wills. And we started talking a little bit about this last Sunday. and it really brought a lot of things up concerning how the Watchtower is so devious in taking money from people and coercing them, so to speak, on leaving them money when they die. Now, we know that the Watchtower is involved in many businesses. We're not going to get involved with all of them tonight, but we even know that the Watchtower, they're pretty good at maneuvering and massaging the books. Let's go with that. And we talked about the asset management company the Watchtower has in Ireland, and they have some pretty heavy hitters there. These guys are involved in Wall Street. They've been involved in big banks. So these are not just amateur people. The Watchtower is a big business, and they're out there trying to get as much money as they can in, like any asset management firm. And according to an Irish newspaper, we brought it up here many times before, an Irish business newspaper, the Watchtower is, according to the paper, worth tens of billions. Well, this is how much they have in their assets. I don't want to get it confused for you. The Watchtower has in this asset, as we, of all the money they collect from rich Jehovah's Witnesses and other people as well. You don't have to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses to have this asset management company run your business and buy stocks and bonds for you. But anyways, they have over the tens of billions of dollars in the asset management firm, but also according to the newspaper here in Ireland, that they have upwards of $10 billion themselves. So it's kind of interesting what the Watchtower is doing here in being involved with this. And the reason why I even say that is because, the Watchtower would never want you to go out and get involved like they have got involved with the world. But yet here they do it, and what hypocrites they are. So, then these people too, just to name, in this Irish asset management company, there's a man by the name of Philip Lofts, Lofts, and he's actually a Jehovah's Witness. Philip Lofts, Brother Philip. Well, this man, he comes with high credentials. He's a former group chief risk officer and CEO of UBS Americas. Well, UBS is a giant bank in Europe, and they have branches here in America. He's a CEO of that. This guy is no dumbbell. This guy knows how to manage money, and the Watchtower is a witness too. And also another man, his name is Vasilio Pappas, and he's the founder of a Centagon management company, an asset management company as well. And he manages roughly $57 billion in assets. Now, I mentioned these names, Pappas and Lofts, and I got thinking, we're starting to, because of AI, because of the way it now searches, we're starting to get down to the nitty gritty. And, who really owns the Watchtower? Who is the stockholders of the Watchtower? Could this guy Lofts and Pappas, could they be the big wigs? Well, somebody is. It's not just the governing body. I believe they're just figureheads. But now some names are starting to pop up. But so be that. I wanted to continue on. The reason why I even bring this up is because the Watchtower has it all set up for people who have wealth in the Watchtower organization, that they will accept the money. They'll take a will. And many people are leaving wills, a lot of money to the Watchtower. So I wanted to bring that up tonight. And they're involved in so many things, real estate companies, real estate business. They're doing all kinds of things to make a whole lot of money, and they're as cheap as they possibly can be. Now the Watchtower they don't publish these figures. There's got to be a lot of digging to get them. But now with AI and the way the internet's going, all this stuff is now becoming readily available. Now, I'm going to bring something up here that is really going to shock you. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because of something that came across JW World News here recently. It has to do with Jehovah's Witness PME a real loyal Jehovah's Witness man, and he served as an elder for quite a while. Now, this particular man, he lived a very modest but comfortable life. He never was flashy at all, and his adult children are not Jehovah's Witnesses. He has 2 adult children, and they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, what happened here recently is he died. Now, when this Jehovah's Witness man died, he had in his estate $8 million, and guess what? He left it all to the Watchtower. As a matter of fact, the 2 adult non-Jehovah's Witness kids that he had, children, they didn't get a penny. I mean, is that sad or what? And the reason why he didn't give them any money was simply because the children are not in the organization. Now, what a heartless thing to do, right? Think about it, $8 million. And because my children aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not going to get a penny. Well, I'll tell you, that's kind of interesting when you stop and think about it. It's kind of sad, too. Now, I'm thinking out loud here, and I want you guys to think along with me. A lot of this money coming into the Watchtower through inheritance is coming through people who are baby boomers. There's a lot of elderly Jehovah's Witness people. Now, a lot of them are dying off. Now, the baby boomers have done pretty well in life. Many have bought real estate years ago when real estate prices have skyrocketed. Some people years ago, back in the 1950s, perhaps bought real estate, a house for $12,000, $15,000. Today, in some parts of the country, that $12,000, $15,000 house is worth $500,000. So they're dying off, and the Watchtower right now has got their hands out. They're taking a lot of money in from people who are leaving their will to the Watchtower. So I'm just, again, analyzing the situation and beginning to really see that, the Watchtower right now is making out like a bandit with these baby boomers dying off. Now, they know that the generations coming behind the baby boomers, they're not going to have as much money. I mean, let's take the Gen Xers and subsequent generations. They're not going to have the money that the baby boomers did. So the Watchtower realized that's going to dry up soon. But there's an all-out effort right now for the Watchtower to really squeeze everybody. Every loyal baby boomer is being squeezed. And we've had people come on the program here and talk about how their parents have given so much money to the Watchtower and left very, very little for the children. And I got thinking, even as I was going over this story, if the Watchtower claims to be the only ones in the world that totally understand the Bible and the God of the universe is on their side, well, I would like to know why the Watchtower is so eager to dip into the pockets of a will and grab as much money from witnesses as they possibly can, even if the witnesses have children. Now, the Watchtower should take that into consideration. I mean, they read the Bible like you and I read the Bible. And if you go to Proverbs, the 11th chapter, the 13th chapter, verse 22, or you also go to 1 Timothy 5:8. And what it speaks of here is if anyone does, specifically here in Timothy, if anyone does not provide for his own household, then he is a man that's it's worse of a man without faith. So we see this as upsetting. Then in the Old Testament, in Proverbs, it says that a man would leave his money behind to his children. It's right there, as clear as can be. But yet the Watchtower, they're always quoting from the Old Testament. How's that one escaped them? Why don't they use that scripture when it comes to taking and scamming these witnesses out of their money? So this is not something that's rare. Right now, the Watchtower is bringing in millions of dollars through these wills that people are leaving them their money. And it's probably happened to you. We've had many people come on here and talk about it, on how the Watchtower has been scamming them out of money. And, you know, it's really sad when I hear stories that come in here to the 6 screens. And another story I got here recently was concerning a 20-year-old, well, early 20s, a young girl. And she left the organization. She didn't want to be Jehovah's Witness anymore. But her dad was a multi-millionaire, and he wrote her out of his will. And this is, you know, I'm really putting 2 and 2 together here. When I go with JW World News, try to put pieces of the puzzle together, when I try to pick crumbs up on the trail, you know, this idea of this fellowshipping might be a moneymaker. It really might be a moneymaker for the Watchtower. Let's face it. If you have children, the Watchtower knows that a lot of children aren't going to want to continue to be in the so-called truth. So dad and mom will shun them. They're now just fellowship. So dad and mom now can take the liberty of, well, we're not going to give anything to our kids. They left Jehovah. So simply put, I'm beginning to think maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses want to keep this fellowshipping people around for a while because they're making a lot of money on it.
You are brilliant, Brother Farron. I think you cracked the code on that one.
Well, I got thinking of it today, Pixie. I'm saying, wait a minute. What a moneymaker. Now, I'm not talking, you know, the average family going to the Kingdom Hall today, and, you know, Brother Joe is working hard. He doesn't make a lot of money, but, you know, he's putting $20 a week in. That's all he can do. That's not a lot of money for the Watchtower. But now a brother millionaire dies, and his kids have been disfellowshipped. Well, who's he going to leave the money to? The Watchtower. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, maybe I'm putting more legs on it than it's worth, but I think it could be part of it. I think so. It's interesting. So, is there anybody out there? Is Lisa on? Lisa, did you want to come on here tonight? I'm not sure you're with us here or not tonight, but we talked last Sunday, and you talked about how you also. Yeah, let's go to Maverick first. Maverick, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, hi, and many happy 4th of July to my American friends.
Hey, thank you.
I was going to play you a little 5-second clip of Judge Rutherford for you because I can't believe the synchronicity of the 6 screens, because I was just looking at old clips of Rutherford, right? And when he was talking about it, so I found the religion is a snare and a racket talk that he done.
Sure.
And there's one bit in there, it's like literally a few seconds long, and it's absolutely tied into what you were talking about, the money racketing, right? I'll play it for you. 1 second.
A small number of men lead in religion and extract money from the great masses who ignorantly pay out their money and receive nothing in return. That is the worst kind of racket. Christian.
I hope that was clear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a racket.
So the worst kind of racket, Rick, you know,
You there with us, Maverick?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh yeah, no, it is a racket, and not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but I was also, when I was doing some research on this week, the Catholic Church, it's millions of dollars. People die, and it's millions, Maverick. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. And I just thought, I can't believe it. You were talking about it, and I thought, oh, I've got to find the queue. I've got a whole catalogue of Rutherford's talks. They're on YouTube, and they're archived everywhere. And there's gold in those. There's gold in them. They're hills, as they say.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, Maverick, for looking
No
that
problem.
up. I like that. Thank you. That's nice of you to do that.
Did
Thank
we
you.
talk about the building they just bought?
1 second. We will
Okay.
talk about that. Lisa, are you on here with us tonight? You were on Sunday. If you listen, Lisa, yeah, thank you for wanting to. We can hear you. Would you mind telling your story about what happened with you and your family?
Yeah. So my grandparents owned a lot of land on a little island called Puget Island. off of, it's an island that's in between Washington and Oregon. You guys still there?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Puget Island. Yeah. We know where it is.
Oh. Yeah. And they had a large riverfront property. And when my grandmother died, she had in her will that 5% of the estate was to be donated to the Watchtower. What was sad was the Watchtower immediately upon finding that out sent a cease and desist letter to the family, to the attorney, stopping any distribution of the estate until validation could be made. And we had to front funeral expenses, and the attorney was gobsmacked that an organization based on a donation would send a letter stopping, executive or an estate. They'd never seen that. We'd never heard of it, but they did, and it was really sad. The Watchtower got more than the grandkids, and we're talking. This was a $1 million plus estate, all said and done, with the land and the house and everything like that. So yeah, it was really, really hard to see that. And my parents, I'm third generation, so my parents were shocked at this. They're a little kind of dumbfounded, but they're like, all right, well, I guess we just gotta wait and see what happens. And yeah, it prolonged the estate by like 8 months until everything could be said and done, because the Watchtower wanted to make sure they got their money first.
Well, that really is so unfair. And I think the percent that you mentioned to me, the Watchtower was going to get 5%. Am I correct with that?
Yes, she had it set out they would get 5% of the estate.
Yeah. So here they are, really messing a family up. You're in grief now. Like you say, you got to front the money for the funeral, and take it out of your pockets, put it out there because the Watchtower is holding this up. See, this is why I really say this cannot be a Christian organization. They don't approach anything in a Christian manner. I'm sure that they could trust you guys. You're all witnesses at the time, right?
Yeah, we all were, and again, it was really, they wanted to like step-by-step accounting of everything that was being sold, all money that was invested into the estate, and it was gross. It was really icky.
That is despicable.
Insult to injury.
Yeah, that is despicable, Lisa, because the thing is, your witnesses, they could come to you, some official from the Watchtower, and say, boy, we're so sad this is all happening. And, your relative here left us, 5% of her estate. So, why don't you guys, get the burial all and, take the money, and then you guys can divvy it up and find out what's going on, and then send us the 5%, without getting lawyers involved in probate and all that stuff. That's what a normal person would do. A normal church would do.
You would think so, especially when it's being gifted and it's a donation. And at the same time, there was no, we're very sorry for Sister so and so's passing. We appreciate the donation. It was just this.
Give me the money.
Legal jargon. Hey, we know we're getting money. We want an accounting. You're not to disperse anything until we verify, blah, blah, blah. It was like a cease and desist. And it was just awful. And then to add insult to injury, my grandma was a part of this, Puget Island is a very small community. And being a part of a congregation for 50 years, we couldn't even hold the funeral there. Or the memorial. We had apparently the presiding overseer at the time said, well, another sister needs some yard work done, and we've organized a yard work party with everybody, and we just can't cancel it. So I'm sorry, you can't have the Kingdom Hall for the memorial. So we held the Kingdom Hall. We held the memorial in my parents' congregation, which was across the river in about 45 minutes away from where my grandmother went. It was just a horrible experience. And, it was just insult to injury at the time.
Well, my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us, Lisa. I had you in mind, and thank you. Thank you very much too for writing and
Thanks for you guys, and happy birthday, everybody.
well, you too. You sound really good tonight. You sound like you're really in a good mood. You really do. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. All right. All right. So, is there anybody out there? You heard these horror stories. Is there anybody out there that feels they've been scammed by the Watchtower? Did your relatives, your friends, leave the money that really they shouldn't have? They don't. The Watchtower doesn't deserve it, but they do it. They get plenty. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Thomas Hodge of Lawrence, Kansas here tonight. This didn't involve me. I just heard about this story. I just thought it was just so horrible. Well, this JW decided she didn't really want to leave the Watchtower her money. I don't know the substantial amount. I can't say how much, but she decided to change the will. And of course, the Watchtower, they knew at one point they were going to get it, but she decided to change it. And that when she changed it so the Watchtower couldn't get it, the kids got it. The Watchtower tied that thing up for 3 years with legal maneuverings to try to wiggle the money away somehow, even though it was all set up to where they couldn't get it. They tied it up for 3 years before the family could ever get the estate. So, they just completely go out of their way to try to manipulate, finagle people out of their money. It's all about money. And there's just so many horror stories like that. And they try to get out of paying, lawsuits and stuff, and it's just, they don't want anybody to have nothing. They are the most evil, despicable organization I've ever seen in my life. The stories we hear are just so shocking. Well, just like Prince, look how they took most of his money and the family didn't get very much, I guess.
Well, would you go as far, Tom, as calling the Watchtower cheap?
Oh, yeah, it's worse than that. They're just terribly greedy. I just can't even. There's nothing biblical about it. It's a shame these people can't see that it's nothing but a false organization. They don't follow the Bible anymore. They just use the JW.org, and I don't think they hardly even open up the Bible anymore.
I think the word is swindler.
Well, that's a good word, Pixie. But I get thinking of Chewy. I don't know if you heard him on here, Thomas, but here he is working construction, building buildings for the Watchtower, and so anyways, he was working on Kingdom Hall, and so they told him that if you don't come back in time to get go into the kitchen at Bethel into the dining room, just stop and get a sub somewhere, and we'll reimburse you. Well, they weren't even reimbursing him. The local congregation was. They were paying for it. But boy, these guys, they come out smelling like a rose. But I don't look at, for 20 years I've been doing this program, I have never heard of the Watchtower helping anybody financially. Now, I've heard elders that have dug into their own pockets, but never the Watchtower helping. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas.
I think they took out the scripture that says to help widows and orphans. And didn't Jesus say, do not dine with extortioners? Extortioners are in the New Testament somewhere, and it says don't even sit with them.
Well, they certainly they certainly are extortioners. There's no doubt about it. Let's go to Yuma, Arizona. What do you have to say?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to throw, man, the stories are horrific about the getting scammed on the inheritance. But let me ask the audience and you just a question.
Sure.
I really believe, if you believe in justice in the day of justice and judgment day, could they be receiving their full reward? And could they have just set themselves up for a lifetime of nothing, because their greed is so visible? Like, for instance, taking those children's money in that island that Lisa talked about is something a Christian would not do. As Christians and Americans, especially on the 4th of July, we're taught to sacrifice. We're taught to give of ourselves as American and Western civilization. Something uniquely lost in the Watchtower. They don't give nothing. They are leeches on society. If they were to all die today, nobody would have even known they ever lived. They serve nobody. They serve no purpose, but they're just parasites. They remind me of the story in the Exodus account when they wanted meat, and God had to send down that meat, and they were still in their teeth when they received their full reward. Could all of judgment and all of eternity, could the Watchtower be receiving their money now? Because for eternity, they will have nothing. They will have a hell of a time getting any money in the future. Could that be a true belief that I have, or am I way off?
Oh no, I think you're right on. I think you're right on. I love your little narrative there, and you know I like it when you say that they're not going to be missed. You know, nobody's going to look back and say, "Oh, what a great organization! Oh, they helped so many people. They helped find a cure for cancer. That they helped people to rebuild all their homes when the hurricane hit." I mean, this is all something that an organization that brings in billions of dollars a year should be doing. They're doing diddly squat. They're doing nothing. You know.
I have this building in Yuma. I have an air conditioning shop, and next door, about 100 Jehovah's Witnesses work next to me. And we built these buildings together, these industrial buildings, probably in 1999. Me and Gilbert built ours, and then the electricians built theirs. We do air conditioning. And some years later, we got robbed. My personal service vehicle got robbed, and they crashed the fence. And I always worked my butt off. They robbed my truck, and they crashed it through the fence. And to this day, I still have the fence. I have my building is in repair, and I mean, my building is a new commercial building, but my fence is all old and crashed, and I keep it there on purpose because it reminds me, I always served Jehovah. I always served it. But this Sunday morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning when I got robbed, I called all the Jehovah's Witness buddies. nobody helped me. And I had a talk in this town called San Luis, Arizona, which is south of Yuma, right before Mexico. And the elder there goes, "Jesse, I knew you were going to fail me." I go, "No, brother." This elder, I told him, my building was ripped off last night. All my tools are on the parking lot. My truck got smashed through the fence. I have to clean up everything before nightfall. I have to pour concrete and put the fence back up. And he goes, "No, I knew you were going to lay me. I knew you were going to let me down. You let us down. I shouldn't have called you to give a talk." And I got treated so bad. And two of my associates that were ex-cons in prison when they were younger, one of them bought all my tools at a construction site, and he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Jesse, did you get robbed tonight, this morning?" And yeah, he goes, "I bought all your tools." He refused to take in money. And then this property owner, he saw the truck in his property and he called me up. And so I got treated like a brother by people who were ex-cons, better than my own spiritual brothers. This is how disgusting I have witnessed the Jehovah's Witness to be when it comes to financial matters.
Oh, that's a fantastic story, Jesse, because it fits right in with what we're talking about here tonight. My goodness, no, that's and really, I'm sure there's some that are pretty good, but boy, most of the witnesses. I mean, I could go into horror stories myself, all about because I had a business and I had 15 witnesses working for me one time. I won't even get into it, but boy, I'll tell you, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It's
Rick, I think a Christian, I think a criminal, I think a traitor, a backstabbing SOB has more Christian traits than a Jehovah's Witness when it comes to financial matters.
Well, we had a man. Did you ever hear the company Trimline?
Trimline sounds familiar.
Well, that was a company that was started. In fact, we had a man that came on the 6 screens. He died a few years ago, but his name was Daniel Hall. And Daniel Hall and his brother started a worldwide company. I mean, this guy was really on the ball. He did good. He was a Jehovah's Witness. It was called Trimline, and they sold franchises. But get this, you had to be a ministerial servant or an elder to get a franchise. And he sold it all over the world. And he got living in a mansion, and he really was living high off the hog. And it was unbelievable. But all of a sudden, things started turning on him. In the end, he had all witness people working and buying franchises from them, and they all sold them down the river.
Yeah, they
So,
stabbed
so,
them in the
so
back.
they were stabbed in the back, so to speak, not literally. But what happened is they somehow maneuvered the situation in the world of business that put him on the hook for all their taxes, and he got really in big time hot water with tax situations and lost everything. Lost everything from a big mansion to live in a little trailer behind a church, and it caused so much sickness. I mean, his whole system got so fouled up by it. But nobody stood there to help poor Dan. They didn't. I mean, people in the world treat people better than many Jehovah's Witnesses. But I don't want to make a blanket statement. There are some that are pretty good, but there's a lot that, boy, I'll tell you what, doesn't take much for them to turn on you. Thank you, Jess.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Craig again from Florida.
Yes, Greg.
I have to respectfully disagree with what you implied tonight, and I want to prefix what I'm about to say. I am not pro Watchtower. I detest the governing body. But when you say Watchtower gets inheritances, yes, that's true. But I just want to emphasize that each and every person in life, man or woman, has the right to make a will and give their life earnings to whomever they want, whether it be a child, which most people say that's the right thing to do, that's sort of like ethical, or that person could give it to a religion or could give it to an organization. Each and every person has the right to choose whomever their life saving goes to. And I can understand why children who are not Jehovah's Witnesses are disinherited.
Brother
I can
Craig,
understand. I can understand that. But if a person is of sound mind, and Watchtower is not with them when they make their will in the presence of an attorney or whatever, if a person is of sound mind, they have the right to give it to whomever. And the children that were disinherited could strive in life to make the same amount of money or more and make a will and give it to whomever. Watchtower, I'm not trying to justify Watchtower. I'm trying to say everyone has the right to give their life savings and make a will to whomever. And just because Watchtower inherits his money, well, whoever gave that money had the right to do that.
Well,
that's correct, Brother Craig, but they came to my house and tried to extort.
Okay, I'm going to share something personal. I received an inheritance from someone I became very, very close to. And he disinherited his two Jehovah's Witness sons, his blood. And you know what? I inherited it. And I never was a friend with him because of selfish motives. I loved this person. We were both disassociated. Well, he was disfellowship. I was disassociated. I loved him like a father. And he told neighbors he wished I was the son he never had. So conversely, Watchtower gets inheritance, but you know what? It also at times works the other way. I cried. He died in my arms at the hospital. And I found out later I received his inheritance. So conversely, it works. It conversely works. So don't just say each and every person has the right to make a will and to give their life and earnings to whomever.
Sorry, can I ask a question, please? It's Maverick here. The only caveat that I think may be valid to say in this conversation, I get what you're saying, but I think that the thing is, if we ask the question, if a person who is a witness and is given their inheritance, as you say, from their own free will, if they found out that the organization was a false organization, right, that would heavily influence whether they would give at that point. So the point is not the fact that they don't have, as a believing witness, yes, they have a right to do what they want, and no one's putting a gun to their head and saying you've got to give your inheritance to the society. But the thing that's for me, it's the fact that we were convinced that we were giving it to forward advancement of Jehovah's purpose. It's a superior goal or superior motivation. It's a higher principle. We're giving it for the cause, you know, for this big cause. And that's where people feel this, like really this, when they find out that, say, for example, after that they've been conned by the organization, and so this is just, they wake up, they feel very bitter. And a lot of people may actually not get to that point even.
Well, you see what you just said? Yeah, they don't get to that point. You see, in life, we have to make choices and decisions. And some people will not, quote unquote, wake up to the Jehovah's Witness being a false organization or a cult or whatever. But that is a life journey. Some people wake up, some people do not. But that's an accountability for each and every person, whether they find out the witnesses are a false religion or not. And that will roll over into the end of their life when they make their will, what they have learned in life, what they believe, what they feel. But that's a personal decision. Some people learn, some people don't.
I'll leave it with this, right? I'll give you, so I'll bring it close to my own home, close to home. I was robbed of my father's inheritance by my uncle, who was an active witness of nearly in US dollars, over $300,000 of my inheritance was taken by a family member who was a witness. And I'm not actually bitter about it now. I've let it go. It's gone. So when Rick was talking and others people are talking about, I can only speak from my own experience. Yes, as you said, you made a valid point that, you know, each person's entitled to, but there is undue influence. That's the only thing that we know in psychology. There's undue influence. The people who are giving their money over to the organization have been conned into thinking that they are giving it to Jehovah for his organization, and they're going to get some sort of reward. A bit like how churches do these tithe thing, and they believe that by giving token money to their church, they're going to get more brownie points in heaven. Okay, but I'm not.
Yeah, but I'm not an attorney. But I want to say that the legal language or whatever. If a person has to be of sound mind when they make their will, sound mind. Notice from a legal standpoint, they don't say, are you under undue influence from a religious source? That's not the religion or doctrine or undue influence isn't there. It's of you are legally sane.
It is there. It is there. I don't want to make this an argument, but it is there.
Craig, they came to my house. My mother was 102. Her will was already made. The property was already in my name, so the nursing home couldn't take it when my dad was 93. But this sister came to my house with a paper and pen and tried to get my mother's signature. She tried to con my mother with me, the heir, still in the room.
I understand, and that is a perfect example of undue influence. That was a perfect example of undue influence. But as an example, as I told you my situation, when this person made the will, he did so in a lawyer's office. And he disinherited his two sons. One was a Bethelite and one is an elder, in another state. But the point is that person made his will without undue in the front of his attorney. So it works all ways. It's just that when a person makes a will, he can't be undue influence.
That's good that you were left something. Now in Virginia, you have to be a business partner or a family member. I can't just leave things.
Was this will contested? Was the will, in my situation, was the will contested? Yes. Yes. And you know what? The court said the person was of sound mind.
Great.
And he was. And I asked for nothing. He gave me money for cutting his grass, and I yelled at him. I have the copy of the check. I ripped it up, made a copy. I don't want anything. Over a decade, I was very close to him. He was very elderly, and no one looked in on him, and I did. Weekly, I had to help him change his sheets because he couldn't lift the mattress. Took him to the doctors, visited him during storm. Weekly, and did it for nothing. And his son who lived 15 minutes away, who was an elder, did jack nothing.
Can I ask a question?
Of course,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Please.
Yeah. Did you con the old man?
Absolutely not. I never took a dollar.
Excellent. And that's the difference.
He died in my arms, and I didn't even know his will. I didn't even know his will.
That's the difference between you and the organization. The organization knows it's conning these people. That gentleman did not do that to you.
But his son, if they looked at it, a son that lives 15 minutes away can't help his father. That is pathetic.
We're not talking about the son. We're talking about the person who signs over their will to an organization that cons them. That old man, you didn't con him. So he genuinely.
Okay, I understand. Like the sister that's on the phone, that says someone came over to influence her mother writing the will. That's 102. That's clear. But Rick's headline was Watchtower receives inheritances. Yeah, well, they have the right to receive inheritances.
Well, I'm going to.
I think not when they're unduly, not when elders go over or people go over and try to have them change their will. That's clear undue influence. But if someone makes it in front of their attorney and they say, you know what, I don't want to give it to blah, 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 and I want to do it, they have the right to do that. I'm not talking about clear cases where people come over and put a pen in their hand and say, hey, blah, 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 undue influence. But in people that are stable, mentally sane, they have every legal right to give it to Jehovah's Witness, Catholic Church, Red Cross, some charity, whoever. That's the legal right in the U.S. law.
You're right about that. That's their legal right. And also, it would seem as if it is the organization's legal right to con people.
So this is becoming so twisted. This is going into other places. Brother, I appreciate what this brother said in his opening statement. It makes sense. It also makes sense that the disfellowship person who cut his sons out of his will put this brother in because they probably weren't dealing with him. We know how when you're disfellowshipped, how children can stop dealing with you. He makes a good point at the very beginning. A person who's of sound mind gets to leave their money anywhere they want to leave it. And that Lisa's story, she even said 5% of the estate went to the Watchtower. So it's not always 100% one way or another way.
True.
I think this brother makes an excellent point.
And you express my opinion or stance very perfectly.
Well, let me jump in. Let me jump in here. Let me jump in here. This is Rick Farron. Go ahead, Jack. Yeah.
We are not people who are sitting at a circuit assembly. We are ex-JWs. And so we don't like them as a rule. And so it's difficult to hear a balanced statement like this brother just made. But brother, stick with your first statement, because what will happen is you'll go into other places because you'll be getting all these different arguments. When you're done, restate your first statement because it was excellent. It was excellent.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm gonna.
I go by Zachary.
Okay, I'm Craig. Thank you.
All right, so I just want to give my thoughts on this. And Craig, thank you. I see where you're coming from, and you're saying legal rights, everything's legal. Yeah, it is. But even the Apostle Paul, I mean, I can give you scripture. All things might be lawful, but is it advantageous? So let's just go with the story of Lisa. Let's go with the story of Lisa. Here's 5% is going to the Watchtower. 5% of $1 million. Okay. What is that? $50,000? $50,000. Okay. So they're going to hold up all the rest of that money. The family had to cough up the money for the burial. Very, very difficult when you lose a loved one to go through all of this. And yet they had to make this their legal right to do it. But so even though things might be legal, is it advantageous? Is it advantageous for the Watchtower to really sit there and grab all of a person's inheritance without even discussing, if it was a Christian organization, which it's supposed to be, I can see Greg's point with a secular organization, but if you're a Christian organization, the very first thing you should do is look at the scriptures. That's what a Christian organization should do. And they should be looking at the Old Testament, specifically in Proverbs, that states that your inheritance should go to your children. Or they should also look at the scripture in First Timothy that talks about it would be, worse for a person that did not take care of his family than a man without faith. So, we have scriptures that can direct a Christian organization. A secular organization, fine. Yeah, yes.
You don't miss the idea of tithing too. Some people consider that when they're doing their estate.
Yeah. But I mean, it's again, it can be done. I mean, in the secular world, people get conned day in, day out. But should a Christian organization,
P-R-E-Y, they pray instead of pray, and they prey upon the widow and the orphan and the old man that's 93. My uncle was going to leave me some things. His wife, my blood relative, she wanted to leave me something. She predeceased him, and at 93, he signed it over to the Watchtower.
but in all respect, well, thank you, Pixie. In all respect for Craig, he's right, and he certainly they have a legal right to step in and grab all the money from a will. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It can't even be challenged. But I'm saying it should be challenged from a Christian so-called religion.
I agree with you, Rick. And Rick, I love you. I think you may even remember me. I met you at the meetup in last year in August.
Yeah, I do remember you. Yeah,
I have a stepfather that's an elder, and a brother that's an elder, and I dissociated in the year 2000. But the point is if my stepfather disinherited me, I would have no hard feelings, even if he gave 100% to Watchtower. That's his legal right. I want nothing. And I understand the discussion tonight, and everybody that contributed to my comments, I respect. I love you. I love you. I love your program. And the last brother I spoke to, thank you for your kind words. And I just thank you for hearing me. And I am not for a Watchtower. I am so much hatred for the governing body. But it was just from a legal standpoint, I wanted to make my comment.
well, thank you, Craig.
Or whatever.
No, in fact, I don't take it that way at all. In fact, I'll tell you what, I like you a lot because we brought this up once before, and I had to redact my statement. And I remember it was probably about maybe a year. Yeah, maybe a year ago. Yeah, in fact, I remember what it was all about. Let's see, I'm just on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, it had to do. Boy, I can't remember now what it was. Do you remember?
I think it had to do with someone that's accused of
Oh yes, in fact,
DSA or something.
yes.
Without them going through the full trial and basically slandering their name without.
Right. Yeah,
People can be accused of things, and it's like their name is smeared, and they could later be proved innocent.
You're right.
Let's give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, in fact, I did come on. I did kind of accuse a man of doing some nasty things, but there was really no proof. It didn't go to court yet. So I remember I redacted my statement. But no, in fact, in fact, I'll tell you, you came on and you brought that question up tonight, and all of a sudden, something I noticed. I can see numbers going up here. People watching YouTube don't see numbers, but I'm seeing numbers. See, people like that type of a debate because
You welcome open views, and tell you the truth, you are my favorite XJW show. I love Connie and Dick, and I just love you. I love your show, and I love all the energy and work you put forth to help people. You are true. You are a true person. And I really do love you. I really do.
Well, thank you, Greg. No, in fact, thank you for. I like that. I like the way that you're a very sound-minded man, and the issues that you brought up on a couple occasions deserve attention. Thank you. Yes, who's this? Go ahead.
Rick, it's Maverick again. I just wanted to. I appreciate what Craig is saying. We're all just having a debate, and all sides are being spoken. But I just want to. The way I'm thinking about this thing, though, Rick, is when we found out that the Watchtower was wrong. Okay, forget money now. We invested some things that are much more valuable than money. Our time, our lives, our youth, our energy.
Yes.
Right? All of us. When we look back, we can think of so many decades that could have been used for better things, families started, businesses made, and our own money made too. If we look back in hindsight, think, my goodness me, if I'd have made that decision instead of joining the Watchtower, I would have been blah, 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 blah. Or we like to think that our lives would have been much healthier. And I guarantee 99 times out of 100, our lives would have been better. But the reason I'm bringing this up now is because I'm thinking that means we don't have a right as ex-witnesses, right? We don't have a right to complain about anything, any of our experiences, right? Because it's the past and we made the conscious decision to be in the Watchtower, right? But it doesn't work like that. We were conned and we were led to believe that we were joining a real, the truth, right? And that's the reason why we joined. And so we invested our money, our time, our energy, our vital energy, our youth, everything to be in that place for decades. So the person who say they're not witnesses, they're family members, and they know it's a cult, and they see their entire family fortune go to an organization as a cult, aren't they not entitled to be upset? I think they are. Otherwise, we can't have a 6 screens anymore. And we can't have any debate about all the bad experiences we've been in, that we experienced, because we made a conscious decision. And that's the reason why I appreciate what Craig is saying. But if it's legal, it doesn't mean it's moral. The Watchtower, as Nicole said earlier, they know what they're doing. And that's all I wanted to say. So I can really understand and I empathize with many people who are looking and saying, oh my goodness, I expected to get my inheritance from my mum or my father, and all of it's gone to the Watchtower. And they're a conning state. And as you said, Rick, it is a valid point you made. I'll leave it here. It's a valid point because Watchtowers say, oh my goodness me, let's give something back to that family. Because they've been in the organization for 50, 60 years. Let's do a gesture. We won't take all of it. They'll never do that. They'll take every single dollar or pound. So, that's what I wanted to say anyway.
Hey, Rick. Yes, go ahead. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Maverick. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Rick. It's Gilbert here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, yes, Gilbert.
Hey, you and I had this conversation before, and I'm going to refresh your memory. Just looking at Yahoo Finance, all you have to do is type in inheritance boomer on any Google search. It says U.S. boomers, this is just the United States, are refusing to give $84 trillion in real estate wealth away to their kids. And it's not just real estate. That's just in real estate. That has nothing to do with their 401s, their pensions, and everything else. Rick, when you're having this conversation with all of these guys here, this is the kind of conversation Jesus would have when he's sitting down talking to people. But I have to tell you, this is where you guys don't understand something. When the devil goes to the boardroom, he don't talk the way you're talking. In the Wednesday meetings, the governing body is not talking like you and me. The governing body is sitting on Wednesday with all of the lawyers and saying, we want a piece of the hundreds of trillions of dollars that are set to be transferred. The greatest wealth transfer in history is happening right now before your very eyes. Anybody who follows any money news knows this is it. There's a transfer. And you know who wants that money? The government. Gavin Newsom is talking about inheritance. The Catholic Church. What I'm trying to tell you, Rick, is that the governing body of Jehovah's Witness is sitting on a Wednesday meeting saying, how do we get elders to go door to door with pens and get this inheritance money? And this is where the apologists, the guys saying, well, Watchtower's not doing anything illegal. No. They're doing everything immoral. This is why And we have to talk about this on the July 4th, because real men fight. Real men say no. You're a religious organization representing Jehovah. You call yourself the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. Shame on you. You will rot in hell for what you're doing. One thing is for somebody to give their money to Watchtower. Another thing is for a whole group of Jehovah's Witnesses, like Pixie testified, and thousands upon thousands of people testified, that they're being harassed and they're being pushed by the meetings and their little Zoom meetings and their Watchtowers to give the money. Because Watchtower on Wednesday, they don't speak like you and I, Rick. They speak like the devil speaks in a U.S. corporate boardroom. There's 84 trillion, and we want a slice of it. That's the real news.
Gilbert. Well said. Well said, Gilbert. Well said.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny you bring that figure up, but in fact, we kind of opened it up with that. The baby boomers in the Watchtower is totally aware of it. There's wealth like we've never seen before. People's real estate, as I brought out at the opening, people bought houses back in the 1950s and 60s for, $15,000, $20,000 that are now worth in some areas of the country $600,000 and $700,000. There's wealth like we've never seen just sitting to be left in someone's will. In fact, even as I drive around here in Massachusetts and I see all these big, beautiful houses, I'm looking at $1 million houses all over the place. And I'm seeing young people in there. And I'm saying, where'd they ever get the money for this house? But a lot of it's inheritance. Their parents died and left them $500,000 or $1 million. So this is where a lot of wealth is coming from. You're right, Gilbert. Yep.
Yeah, you have to fight back, because listen, the road to hell is paved with good intention. And when you start saying that Watchtower is not
one thing I know Gilbert knows.
Yeah, maybe in a court of law. But guess what? On Judgment Day, the last thing I'm going to be is in the line with the people that were giving Watchtower pass. When I die, Rick, I'm going to be in the line that I said, I gave Watchtower hell. Okay, you come over here, Gilbert. That's the line I want to be in.
Amen. Amen, Gilbert. One thing I know Gilbert knows, and I'm going to mention this to Brother Farron. When you see that $1 million house with the younger people in it, ask yourself, is it paid for?
Well,
That's going to vary.
Yeah, right. I was even concerned about my neighbor here next door. He's got one of those houses. And all of a sudden, I don't see anybody around for about a week. So I was wondering if the bank took it over or something, but I think he just might be on vacation. But that's going to happen here soon,
Pixie. Hey, Rick, when you get a chance, money pay for that house, Pixie.
Go ahead, Nicole. You asking Pixie something?
These young people know how to make money, Pixie. Yeah, I'm trying to take young people know how to make money.
My family house that I don't have anymore, my dad paid $20,000 for it. If we still had it, it would go for $2 million.
Wow.
That's how some of these markets are on the East Coast. And I'm in a little cottage, but it's paid for. Don't laugh, because it's paid for.
I just wanted to add something to the group real quick, because I think there's been some great conversations tonight. And I shared the story earlier. This is Lisa. And I completely agree with what was said earlier, that everyone should have the right to give whatever of their money to what they want. I guess for our personal story, it was just the cold calculation of an immediate cease and desist, so that we can, and it wasn't about getting the inheritance money. Of course, we gladly, we had to upfront costs for, funeral, memorial, death certificates, all that kind of stuff. But it was just for someone that's been in, 50 plus years, and, once they pass, to not have a, hey, we're sorry for your loss, anything like that. It was so cold. And when a family's grieving, it's really hard. But I appreciate everybody's comments, and I agree. And it's healthy to have these kind of discussions, because I do think that if people are going to donate, again, like my parents, as the executor of their estate and they're still living, I would be concerned if they chose to donate after what we went through. And that would be, do I want to follow that order? Well, obviously I've had to. So having those kind of conversations come up, it's just, people should be aware of what could possibly happen when you're donating to this society. And anyway, just wanted to add that on.
I'm sorry for your loss, Lisa. And when I had the funerals of my parents, the elders didn't even have a place for me to put a thank you note. And they didn't let me write into the script to thank everyone from the platform. The witness funeral is another topic of craziness. Sorry.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so this is Diamond Dave, and my field is actually in like banking and finance, so I'm pretty fluent in this. For me, whether it's Jehovah's Witnesses or even like in the Mormon Church, obviously people have the legal right to donate wealth, assets, and real estate to whoever they so desire. But for me, it's the undue influence of these organizations is a real hitting point. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's lawful, or excuse me, just because it's legal doesn't make it ethical, right? So when I hear stories of people who are in these organizations for 40 or 50 years and then they donate, or they desire to donate, I start to do a lot of digging, because it's not just, oh, I love this church or I love the JWs and I want to donate my stuff to them. You have to look at the culture that like helps them facilitate that decision, right? Because these organizations aren't just buildings. There's a culture. There is an ideology behind it. So and when you look at the ideology that pressures people into giving everything, their lives, their time, their youth, as somebody said earlier, right? That to me is undue influence, and arguably, depending on what state you are in, that can be contested on that basis.
Oh, very good, Diamond Dave. That's a very good analogy. Very good. Explained really well. And boy, there's two different directions we can go in with this, but there are certain in the secular world. I can really see that, as Gilbert was talking about earlier, the devil is there, and the devil's even in some of these religious groups. And really, there's a certain thing as ethical. A certain thing is being right with people, like poor Lisa. I hate to keep bringing that up, Lisa, but I would think they could have let the 5% go and let you guys make the burial and then divvy it up later, But that to me really it was something else. Well, thank you, Dave. Well, my goodness, we had a lot of discussion about that tonight. One other thing, Susan. In fact, even in the world of finance here, what's going on with the Watchtower? What they buy recently, Susan?
Just yesterday, the Watchtower bought a property near Warwick. One day ago, they bought 69 acres across the lake, 432 square feet of building that was owned by IBM. And we know they've had dealings with IBM. They've sold them the MEP system. So I'm sure they got a deal. They're calling this the Blue Island Facility. It is currently not open for tours. And this, again, the media center is called the Blue Island Facility.
And how many acres?
69 acres.
69.
Yeah, 69 acres, and it's a 432 square foot building.
All right. Well, let's just put that into perspective. Now, the Ramapo project, where they're building the video center, media center, well, they bought that back in 2011, and that was 245 acres, and they paid $11 million for that. But of course, we're talking 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we're talking real estate was cheaper then. So I know where that building is. I've seen that IBM building. It's beautiful. There's a beautiful lake right next to it. So they bought that. It's lakefront property. They got 69 acres. In today's day and age, it's got to be worth more than it was back in 2011. So I would say that's a good. I would say it starts at about. I would say at least 15 million and goes up from there.
That's
So
that would be the. You know what? That's not the Watchtower's money. That's the brothers and sisters' money that are buying that property. The Watchtower didn't do anything except maybe invest in the stock market. That's about it.
yeah. So, but actually, they have the as others would say that they have the right to buy it. I'm certainly not picking on them for buying the property, but the thing is it really? I mean, first of all, if I was still in the religion, I don't think the money aspect of it would bother me, and I don't care what they spent. But what would bother me the most is what in goodness name's sake is Watchtower doing buying up land, building buildings, moving full speed ahead. At the same time, Armageddon's supposed to be here. This should really jog some witnesses loose. This is not something that should be treated lightly. The Watchtower really should come out if they're really that Christian organization they claim to be and say, brothers and sisters, in view of the time we're living in, we're putting a halt on all construction. We feel we're that close. Things are happening in the world that are quite shocking. We're going to halt all future building construction. I'm not trying to speak for the Watchtower here, but I'm trying to speak from a Christian perspective. If you really are so hell bent that this system's ending, what in goodness name's sake are you doing accumulating all of this wealth? It's not sensible.
Another thing is, why don't they ask the brothers during a meeting and have them truly say their feelings like we were just doing and say, okay, we're thinking of buying this IBM building. It's near Ramapo. It's near the center that we're building, the media center. This is why we want to build it. This is the square footage. This is the deal we'll make. We think it's a good buy, and this is why we need to buy it. Not want to buy it, need to buy it. So why don't they do that? But they don't. It just ends up in the news.
So in that article that you read, Susan, it doesn't say what they're intending to do with it?
No, not at all. It just says that it's near the media center, near where Warwick already is. It's near the Ramapo Media Center. They said across the lake. You said I can't picture it myself, but you say you know where it is.
We were
what
up
would
there.
they do with it?
Well, you and I were up there. Well, it had to be about 10 years now.
Right.
But I remember seeing that IBM building. It's a beautiful building. But folks, here's the whole thing. I don't want anyone to ever get the idea that I'm coming on here and trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. That's not my desire. My desire is when we first came up with the 6 screens, it's our mission to expose them. And that's what we do. I'm not a journalist. Susan's not a journalist. We're basically podcasters. We're basically radio announcers. So, there's some things I can say that I might not hit the mark perfectly. I can't do the research that a journalist would do, but I have to tell you, in my 20 years of doing this, we've always asked for governing body members or anyone from the Watchtower official offices, if they'd like to come on and rebut us in any way, that opportunity is always there. And you know something? We never got someone to come in from the Watchtower. And another thing too, I've always said, if I've said something that really is not totally, now you're going to have some little areas that aren't totally correct all the time. But if we really were way off base here at the 6 screens, we'd be being sued by now. We really would be. The Watchtower would be coming after us. They'd be all over us like a
5%.
They would be all over us like a cheap suit. But the thing is, what are you going to do? They know what we're saying here. You can pick it up and you can read about it. So we'll see what happens in the future here. What do you have to say,
My
Susan?
question is, they're sending home Bethelites, right? They're sending people home. So why are they buying this IBM building? They don't need to build more printing facilities. They've got all the printing facilities they need at the farm. And then they've got this place in what do they call the other one?
Wallkill?
Wallkill.
Yeah.
So they've got that property.
Warwick, Wallkill, Patterson. Yeah.
And then they've got this media center that's huge. What do they need this building for?
Well, let me tell you what they need it for. It's a great real estate investment. Now, let me tell you. Do you know now that area right up there? Has anyone ever been up there? I mean, maybe some listening audience has been up there. 10 years ago, it was the boondocks. It was really country. Tuxedo, New York, Ramapo, Warwick. I mean, really rural area. But there's traffic jams up there now. We got a lot of people who moved into this country. We got traffic jams like I'd never seen before. That's getting to be a real hot area in New York. So, I mean, if you got the money, I would tell anybody, invest in some land that is going to increase in value big time. And the Watchtower sees that 10 years from now, that how much did they pay for that building?
It doesn't say.
Doesn't say, but we estimated 15 million. 10 years from now, that $15 million will probably be worth 50 million the way things are going. So they're an investment company. So anyways, any last thoughts at all before we kind of close the program down? Go ahead. Whoop. Wow. Okay. Well, our telephone line just went off, so we'll let that, hold on one second. I'll have to get that back on. Susan, talk to the audience for a few minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments about this center? Oh, they won't be able to answer?
You did.
All right. We're back on now once again. Can you guys hear me? Someone speak up on our radio network, our telephone network. Just unmute yourself. It's *6. All right.
What's going on?
I want to know just the phone shuts off every 6. Okay. Can you hear me, Pixie? All right, hold on.
I think the phone line died.
Yeah. Hold on.
Now.
Yeah, just stay with us, folks. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, but just get the phone line hooked up. It
answers Susan's question, but I just typed it out since the phone line died.
What was the question? Because I didn't get it.
And the question is the Watchtower, like, why do they need that building? What are they going to do with it? And Rick kind of touched on it, but what I said was it's an illiquid asset that's guaranteed to grow in value over time, but it also can be used as leverage for other projects, or it can even be, it could even be rented out. The multiple office spaces could be rented out for like consistent income too. So it's a multiple income source in one location.
Yeah, I think they would have to do that because the water is drying up. It's drying up for them. I mean, not in terms of trade, because they do trade. They have stocks in so many different things. But contributions from witnesses is not as what it was before in the decades going by. So, and then too, a lot of people are leaving, which means money is coming out of their pocket. So they have to find another stream of income for want of a better word.
Well, we're going to let the radio go. Friends, if you were listening in on YouTube and Facebook, there's a telephone number scrolling across the bottom. That's our phone number. If you want to get into a conversation, they call it the after party after 6 screens is over for the news. So if you want to join those in there tonight, dial that number up and you'll be able to do that. So thank you, everyone, for coming on. We want to thank Chewy. We want to thank all the people that came in here tonight. We really appreciate your presence. Susan, what do you want to say?
Thank you all for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Well, actually, we'll have no
Oh,
six.
next week.
We have no 6 screen Sunday tomorrow, but it'll be the following week. Well, we really appreciate you coming in. If you like our channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. It's not monetized at this point. So, you know, the only thing we have to gain here right now is we'll get more people to listen in and help more people leave the Watchtower. Well, friends, thank you for coming in. I want you to keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Join the after party that's coming up next right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork.